Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey, Hump Day, look who's
There it
here.
is.
Yeah.
Anthony's here. He made it.
Anthony's wiring in our boy here.
Yeah, we
G's
wired
in
up.
the slot.
We wired up.
McNuggets.
I'm here.
What's going on, bro?
Tyvis is in New York, so they brought
We
him
got
in
to take
Jersey
everybody
kid.
behind the scenes. J and G show up 8 seconds before the show starts.
And I'm good to go.
It's six. It was 6.5. 7.
What's that?
7 seconds before the show.
He made it, though.
You said 8.
He's
I love whenever we see Anthony poking around back here.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
someone
means-
just slid in.
that's
the
right.
Well, here's what happened. So, I didn't have my key card today because the car is in the shop. Listen,
and the key card's in
and
the
the
car.
key card
of
stays
course.
in the car. At least I know I'll be
You
able to
just
get.
got this car. How's it in the shop already?
I asked him the same question. I was confused.
Well,
I said,
probably regular maintenance. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to do regular
Regular
maintenance.
maintenance or was there something wrong with
I
the car?
mean, listen, the lights was going out. The electrical board was out. I said, hold on.
That's not regular maintenance.
That ain't regular. I was like, you know
I
what?
want to look into that lemon.
That's a
ball,
Range
bro.
Rover, too.
And hold on. And the
Jeez.
crazy part about it is, like, they tell you can only take it to certain dealerships. See, I don't know nothing about that. I think to see if you get a car and it's quote unquote a luxury car, I can't take that to the regular dude down the street.
Well, you can, but beware.
Yeah, they was like, yeah.
You want someone working on it that's certified on that
For
model.
something, that's, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
If you're doing an oil change, okay.
Yeah, oil
but,
change,
yeah.
whatever. But if it gets into specific, particularly when it gets into the computer board,
Yeah.
I'm not trusting that with,
And they-
it's a run of the mill.
By the way, I
Damn good range.
pulled into the TV station parking lot today, shut off my car. There's another car behind me. Music's really loud. I can't fight this feeling any longer. I love that song.
Someone turns that music
cheesy
up
rock,
really
little
loud.
cheesy love rock.
Oh,
I love
Lord.
it.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I start walking towards the door, and the woman like calls out to me. Goes, "Bull, let me ask you a question."
they just know it.
In the parking lot?
In the parking lot, I said, "Okay. Well, first of all, I like your song. You know, it was beautiful." And then she goes,
feeling anymore.
"How many yards down the field does a guy have to be illegally downfield?"
It's a good question.
And I'm
Very
like, "That's a
good
good question."
I think it's just released from the line of
I
scrimmage.
believe
right?
it's 2 yards.
Yeah.
Technically.
It's not
Although I
very
don't think-
much.
I don't think they call it unless it's more obvious than that. But
Right.
I thought it was an interesting question because I was like, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's 2 yards.
It's 2.
And I
Yeah.
think it is too. But I never really thought
Well,
about it.
if McNuggets is here, that means his chair is occupied by
Dun, dun,
the
dun,
Duke of
dun.
Earl. Earl, what's on your
What's
mind
up,
this morning,
man?
brother? What is moving your mind today?
All right, so we're going to get started with this. First things first, our Cleveland Browns talk is brought to you by Tri-C.
What county are they located in?
Cuyahoga. There you go. Sponsored by Cuyahoga
He's not
County.
from Parma.
Sponsored by Cuyahoga Community College. Tri-C supports their students financially, professionally, and personally. Opens up doors and endless possibilities. Tri-C, where future starts. Start now. Classes begin on the 17th. That's in 6 days.
Yeah, so hurry up and sign up.
And let
Change
me-
your life for the better. You've got 6 days.
And let me say, Earl, that I can confirm. I just want to confirm that Jim Schwartz is going to be interviewing for the Browns.
Who reported that first, though?
I'm not going to say because it was actually Albert Breer said it.
I said, Bull, Bull broke news at one point in time.
I'm
around
still
here.
bitter about
I
that. I
confirmed it from
never
the
got
Nuggets.
credit
He
for
never
that.
got
and all
credit
those
for
years
what?
later, I'm
Credit
bitter.
for what?
I was the first one in Cleveland to say Terry Francona was going to be the next manager of the Indians.
Yep,
Right.
broke that.
I said it 4 days before it, maybe more than that, before it happened.
Right.
I kept saying it. There were media members scoffing at me because at the time it was thought to be ridiculous
Yeah.
that Francona was going to come here. I said it was going to happen. I didn't know exactly when it was going to be announced.
Right.
But I said it multiple times, and then the news broke, and
How
nobody
did you
gave me
hear
credit.
it? How did you hear it?
I
You don't
heard-
have to give me a name,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
a reliable source.
I heard
clearly.
it from somebody that knew
It
Francona.
was not a secret. I was really surprised that it wasn't out earlier. I think I've told this story before.
It was, Jay, by me, and
No,
I
I
didn't
mean-
get credit for it.
big. People weren't looking at your
Yes.
report, and they should have been because
I was saying it before it came out nationally at all.
Tito was doing a segment with me on the Sports Center set
yeah.
on the firing of Bobby Valentine.
Yeah.
And he tells me in the commercial break, covers his mic because
Yeah.
he knows people are listening.
Yeah, you told us the story,
and says,
I remember.
Hey, I know you're going to love this news, but
Yeah.
I'm going to Cleveland. I thought he meant
The
like the head coach, like to be the manager. And I go, wait, you're back in the game? He goes, no, I mean, I'm likely going to be, but
Right.
as soon as this is over, I have to race to my hotel, pack my bag, and I've got a flight to Cleveland. And I go, well, this job is yours if you want it, right? He goes, oh, of course. I know all those guys. And I go, do you want it? And he just gave me a sly smirk.
Yeah.
And I knew then, and I wondered how many other people, I wasn't the only person that he said, hey, I'm going to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I was stunned that a few days went by, nothing. There were producers that were asking me, what did he say to you when he covered his mic?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's between Terry and I can't say. But I'm surprised that more people didn't pick up on your report. Were you definitive about it?
Absolutely.
And was the source that told you definitive about it?
She was 100% certain.
I mean, it was.
It was.
I was surprised that one was held so closely to
but
the vest.
anyway, I'm not bitter.
Retroactively, congratulations on
Thank
breaking
you.
the news.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair about it, I thought I broke another story much smaller.
Yeah.
A few years later, I reported, because I had a different source that gave me bad information, that the Browns were signing Monte Ball to a free agent contract.
God. Wow.
And I was wrong about that.
Well,
Did anybody pick it up?
No, not nationally.
So
but,
now we know why. They basically said, well, it's.
But I got the Frank Cohen thing right first.
Which is
then
bigger
I
than-
screwed up
bigger
the
than
Monte.
Monte
Much
Ball.
bigger than Monte
I
Ball.
will say the biggest news broke by somebody that people didn't believe. I feel like Joe Law really broke the LeBron story. Like he had
really?
Yeah,
Joe
he had plane itineraries.
You don't know him now.
Yeah,
he used to be like a part-time media member.
Yeah, so
There were a lot of people that falsely reported he was staying in Miami. There were people that falsely reported, and definitively.
Yeah.
And guys we know.
Yeah.
So, nope, he's going back to Cleveland. No, he's going to the Knicks.
Yeah, I
there
did
were
hear
a
that.
lot
Wait,
of
are
reports.
you talking about when he first left or when he came back?
when he came back,
Yeah, his return.
Yeah, when he came back, he's like, listen, I know they didn't already want to visit him. He's like, Dan Gilbert's plane just touched down when he went to go. They signed the Cold War Pact. Dan Gilbert met him and said, hey, listen, we're going to let bygones be bygones. Come on back. LeBron said cool after they met at dinner or whatever the case may be.
Tracking tail numbers on private
Yes.
planes can be risky.
Yes.
Because Dan Gilbert touched down in Miami doesn't mean that they agreed that he was coming home. It
That's
just means
true.
that they had a summit, which everybody, hell, of course you were going to sit
Right,
down and talk
right.
to him. And no, LeBron wasn't coming to you.
Yeah.
You had to go to him. So I've seen people make mistakes on tracking tail numbers. The one mistake, and it was a very good friend of mine that I hated to see happen because he was actually right when he reported it. There was a change of heart after he reported it.
A material
But
change, as
Kirk
they say.
Herbstreit famously reported that the Michigan coach was going to be Les Miles because
Oh,
he
yeah,
heard
that was-
from multiple board members
Wow.
at Michigan that the deal had been agreed upon. Now that's where you got to be careful. Agreed upon and signed are obviously two different things. Well,
Ask
Les
Carlos
Miles,
Correa.
yeah, Les Miles was still coach of LSU and had a very big game to coach. I believe it was either ahead of the bowl game
It might have
or
been
the
the
SEC
It was
championship.
It was like
a
the
national
national
championship.
championship.
It
wasn't
may have been.
I think it was a national championship.
And Miles had been saying, I'm not leaving. And then when Herbstreit came out and reported he's going, Miles changed his mind. And, I mean, think about how that may have changed history for
yeah.
better or
Think-
worse.
think
Think
about
about
Chef-
Ohio State?
No, but think about Schefter and Brady this offseason. Schefter reported he's retiring. Brady
Right.
then says,
Yeah.
I'm not retiring.
Right, right.
Then
And he
he
retires.
retires and then comes
There
back.
was a lot of shady business going on behind that.
no
Yeah,
I
that
think
was-
now that we know a lot more than at the time, we thought, there's no way he's walking away. There's no way. He threw for 5,000 yards the year before.
He's not walking away after this year.
I don't think he's walking
either.
away. And now all the smoke seems to be Brady going to New Orleans to hook up with Sean Payton. I've heard that from
Right.
multiple
Or Vegas.
folks that cover the league that are
I've heard-
reputable.
I've heard really people say he's going to Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And I'm like, because look, Josh McDaniels has already shadow realmed Derek Carr. He's done.
Yeah.
Listen,
They don't owe him any more guaranteed money.
They don't
by the
owe
way.
him no
He's
more
not
money.
going to be
That's
on the
true.
Raiders next
By the
year.
way, before we get to the DC situation, one more surprise newsbreaker who's broken at least two stories this winter. This winter. Carlos Baerga has
Yeah.
broken two big baseball
Wow.
Two.
Snoop.
He was on the
He
was
did
on
Jose
LB Network
Abreu,
and Bogarts, didn't he?
and he did Bogarts.
Bogarts,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Look
Yeah.
at
He was the
Carlos.
first one on both of those.
Shout
Well,
out
he's
got
plugged
one
in.
more.
Yeah.
He is plugged in.
I got one more before we get to the DC
What do you got?
Who else?
conversation. Breaking news. I found out today I'm the only person that's a producer here that's right-handed.
It's fact.
Anthony,
Hey,
you guys are all lefties?
You guys
And so
left-handed?
is director Steve.
I'm lefty too. Got a lot of lefties here.
Wow.
That's-
Isn't
that's
it
why we're
like
so
17%
creative.
of the
I thought it
population
was
is
like
left-handed?
12.
I thought it was less.
Might be
12.
less.
Yeah.
And we got half the people in this room right now
More than
are
half.
left-handed.
4 out of 7.
I watched
You guys
Left
are
hand
both
up, baby.
right-handed?
Left hand
I
up.
watched a
I'm righty.
documentary on that.
Yeah.
You know,
You
like,
watch a documentary on everything.
natural selection in
Well, this is
left-handed
sleep. I mean,
people.
what else are you gonna watch
Really?
at 4:30 in
Yeah.
the morning on a Tuesday night?
And why it's more difficult to make someone left-handed than because I was just saying, well, at a young age, just make them left-handed. They're like, no. It's almost like ingrained in your DNA. Like it's not a thing.
I was trying to get
Yeah.
my son to hit left-handed.
So,
That's a lot easier to teach.
yeah. Like,
Bizarrely, when I played Little League, I did it twice, actually. Even though I'm a right-handed hitter, I can bunt left-handed. Great. I'm a great left-handed. I'm not now, but as a kid, I could bunt and
Could you
put it
see-
in the perfect spot every time. I did it twice. in
Drag
Little League.
bunts are so easy
Can you see
left-handed.
bull drag button?
Well, listen.
Back in the day,
I
probably.
wasn't overweight when I was in Little League.
So Leroy's here. Get his final thoughts on Browns 22. Robert's going to be here. Same thing. He'll also weigh in on the NFLPA stuff. I know he had a conversation with you last week on the phone. He wants to say some things that he believes to be true. It's going to be an interesting conversation for sure. Robert has been in that world for a very long time player rep. Now he's currently on the board that handles pensions and disability, so he's very much in the know.
We got true and false.
And true or false, which is going to be fun. It's always fun. And we're going to recap a disappointing Cavs loss last night.
And DJ Hazmat in overtime.
Yeah,
Wow.
DJ Hazmat, his world premiere of his final Browns video of 2022. I wonder if has anybody seen it?
no.
I wonder if he goes specific into just the game or if he's going to take a global look at the season and kind
I
of.
think he does a 2020. He does a recap.
I feel
rap.
like he should do just the game and then do another
I
one.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I think I
See if
want
we
to
can
see.
talk him into that.
Yeah, because the season recap,
Yeah.
there's a lot there, man. A lot
He
that
could
we've
probably do
forgotten.
5 different songs on a season recap.
Yeah.
And he's so talented, he could whip one up by 1 o'clock.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. So we were going to do offensive grades.
We're saving that.
Saving
But
it, pushing it back.
Ixnay offensive grades,
Yeah.
they weren't good. That's just a hint. And they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going to talk about the defensive coordinator because right now, at least, it looks like the list of names that we've put together to bring in for interviews is a pretty solid list. Everybody that you would want to be on that list, as far as I can think of, is on that list. Bull, where are they in this hunt? And they are moving quickly,
They are.
and there's a need to move quickly.
They do, and if you look at the 4 candidates we know they're interviewing, including the 2 they're specifically interviewing, Jim Schwartz today and Brian Flores tomorrow. Then the guy from the Seahawks whose name just escaped
Sean
me.
Desai.
Sean Desai and
Mayo.
Gerard Mayo
Gerard
for the
Mayo.
Patriots. All of those 4 guys, Sean Desai is the only one who's got a team in the playoffs, the Seahawks,
Right.
and they probably won't be in the playoffs for long. But the top 2 candidates, I heard from a source yesterday who said that Schwartz and Flores are the top 2 candidates.
Yes.
They both have the most experience. You think about Jim Schwartz, and I was anti-Jim Schwartz. I think earlier in the year, Earl reminded me of that. I've come around on it. Flores is my top choice, but what I do like about Schwartz is that he's been either a head coach or a coordinator for basically the last 20 years.
Which means he's entrenched as a very good defensive mind.
And if you're a player, like, you got to respect that. And that Eagles defense, when he got to Philly, was not good.
At all.
And they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
With Nick Foles as quarterback. Now, Nick Foles played great in that postseason. I give him his credit. But that defense was phenomenal. Now, eventually it tailed off, and Schwartz got pushed out with, what's his name? I can't think of anybody's
Doug
name.
Peterson.
Yeah. But he overall has done a very good job in his career. Did take the Lions to the playoffs once as a head coach. Overall, wasn't good as a head coach. But as a DC, was really good.
Yeah, the head coach record is
No,
awful.
no. The
But you know
Patriot
what?
guys as head coaches
We've
suck.
said on this show a million
Schwartz is a
times,
Patriots
just
guy,
because you're a great coordinator doesn't automatically make you a great head coach.
Yeah.
We've seen that a million times.
Yes. Sorry,
and
Schwartz-
he's that guy.
Schwartz wasn't a Patriot guy, but he did start his career with the Browns under Belichick.
He did.
Yeah,
He
correct.
did.
You know, so a Belichick guy originally.
He is in that tree.
Yeah.
It's funny when you look at Schwartz and Flores, by the way, because they are 2 completely different philosophically minded defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Schwartz is a guy who's going to rush 4 and play 7 in coverage, and Flores blitzes as much as any defensive
Which I
coordinator in the league.
like.
Back in 2021, when he was the head coach of the Dolphins, they led the NFL in blitz percentage. 42% of pass plays they blitzed on, which has only been topped once in the last 20 years since PFF tracked it. This year by the Giants and Wink Martindale, who blitzed
Yeah.
every play because they had literally no one on defense.
I will say
to
though,
get pressure.
he had the tools to do that in Miami.
He did, and you need 2
when
great
we watched the
cornerbacks
primetime
and a
game
good
against the
secondary.
Ravens,
Yeah.
and he just decided we're playing cover 0. Our guys can match up with your guys, and we're
Massive.
bringing the house.
Masterful.
And honestly, if you look at the arc of Lamar Jackson's career, that was the night that the blueprint was written on how you stop Lamar Jackson.
It was there. Once he blitzed him that many times, I had never. Lamar Jackson was unstoppable. He was like the Vic stuff. He was the new Vic. He was faster than Vic. Yeah. He was doing what he wanted. That game, he said, "Look, we're gonna run cover 0, but we're gonna make sure you don't even know where it's coming from."
And they didn't.
I think Lamar's still good. But at the time, I thought of Lamar as a Tier 1 quarterback. I don't anymore. I think of him as a Tier 2
Will the
quarterback.
Ravens or any team ever win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson? Because I don't have to think long.
I would say no.
I would say no, too.
But in fairness, part of the reason I believe that is because you have Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes that in this AFC who are all young. Not to mention Deshaun Watson, hopefully,
let me ask you
and Trevor Lawrence.
Will a quarterback with that skill set ever be able to win a Super Bowl? And by that skill set, I mean the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah.
And his foot game is a 10, and his passing game might be a 7.
Can I go first while you're thinking?
Go ahead. I have.
It won't happen if his best receiver is a tight end and his wide receivers are DeMarcus Robinson.
That's what I'm talking about.
And whoever else they have. I can't even. Devin Duvernay is your number 2.
Oh, by the way,
like if he has proper weapons, maybe, but
the Ravens kind of slapped him in the face overnight. Did you see what they did?
Signed Roquan Smith
to a 5-year, $100 million contract.
Well, but that's a lot less money than he's looking for.
A lot less money, but it's resources that would have been available for a record contract signing, which is what he's looking for.
I don't know what are the Ravens going to do? They're going
to franchise him. They have no choice. But you saw the speculation as soon as the signing came out on Smith. You saw the speculation. Oh, he's going to win multiple championships with the Jets. Hey, can you imagine him in a Raiders uniform? So now the speculation mill is really churning. And I saw this was purely speculation, but it was by a reporter. I wonder how this news impacts Lamar Jackson's desire to get back on the field for this weekend.
Oh, I'm not listening. I ain't listening.
Is that fair? Ask that?
It's beautiful. That's a beautiful.
I think Lamar's hurt. I think it's unfair to question that he wants to come back.
Hey, I'm slow playing it. You know why? I'm slow walking it.
Someone said he's quiet quitting.
I'm slow walking this thing. You know what? It does him no good.
He's in a no-win.
He's in a no-win.
I actually believe that.
If he comes back and he gets hurt, they definitely not gonna give it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're gonna say you get hurt too much. If he come back and he's healthy and he plays bad, they're gonna say, "Well, we can't win with a quarterback like that."
The win scenario is he comes back and beats the Bengals.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he's doing a Joe Flacco. I'm betting on myself.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
I don't see it happening either, particularly because he hasn't played in 6 weeks, and the injury must be pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he's like a finely tuned machine. You take one spark plug out of a Porsche, and it's not a Porsche anymore.
He's not. I heard. I can't think of anybody's name this morning, but I heard some other player who had sprained his MCL or PCL, whichever injury that Lamar has, the sprained. And he was like, even if Lamar plays, there's no way he's going to be able to do what he normally does.
I don't see it.
Because it's not been enough time. And so, I mean, that's a tricky spot. Jalen Hurts, they have put the talent around him.
They have. On both sides of the ball, too.
Yeah. So, could Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl? Yeah, I mean, he could. I don't love anybody in the NFC personally. I think the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs are the 3 best teams in the NFL. I think the Niners are great, but they have a rookie quarterback.
I never understood the Hollywood Brown trade. I didn't get it. He's a speed receiver. He's young. He's in his prime. He just got 1,000 yards.
Browns could use Hollywood Brown.
So
he'd be a good fit to D-Hop.
Yeah, I don't want D-Hop, G.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Why would you move on from him? Yeah. And you don't have
it's because they want to pay him.
You had Andrews. You had a guy that could kill the inside of the field. Then you had Hollywood Brown. You got 4 or 5 run backs, and you have Lamar Jackson. Why would you do that?
Is it because the league now collectively is starting to look at wide receivers more interchangeable than they ever have before? Yeah. We saw Tennessee let go a top-flight guy. A number of teams.
Stupid.
That was dumb.
It was dumb. It makes no sense. But it was funny during the draft when Tennessee drafted in the first round a wide receiver with the same height,
Traylon Burks out of Arkansas,
and everything. The first comments were made was like, "Oh, he fits the suit."
Yeah.
But that position is not just a plug-and-play position.
No. Not for a special guy.
No, not. There are very few special guys, but those guys you got to keep
you're
and
the
hold
top
tightly to.
6, 8, 9, 10 guys, whatever
and
it is.
I applaud what the Eagles did. They had just drafted a receiver in the top 10. They say you never do that. They got Devontae Smith in. They looked around and said, okay, well, he's not going to do what he's supposed to do with nobody around him. They went back into the market and said, hey, let's trade for another receiver and then have to give him a contract. And looks the way it's worked.
Because you can't, I think with the quarterbacks that are, the Jalen Hurts, the Lamar Jacksons, the guys who are, I guess you'd argue, run-first quarterbacks, Justin Fields is
They
that.
need extra
I mean,
weapons.
Justin Fields, everybody went bananas. His passing, like, if you look at his
Mediocre.
passing numbers,
No.
they're
Mediocre.
lousy.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Hey, Jay, couple Ravens points real quick.
Yeah.
This is from a interview with I Am Athlete. This is Hollywood Brown. He said he wanted to play in a different offensive system and that his discontent began during the second NFL season. Quote, I asked him to trade me after the season. So it looks like that he was the one who requested to
He
be
was,
traded.
but wide receivers have done that since the beginning of time.
I mean,
So
Kareem Hunt
my
wanted to be
argument
traded.
to
The
that
Browns
is,
didn't
though,
trade him.
typically teams will say,
Yeah.
no, we're not trading you.
Yeah,
You're
right.
a commodity.
I-
But recently, teams have taken a different approach.
Yeah.
They're,
Well,
okay.
I guess my rebuttal to that would be we remember when OBJ asked to be traded. Andrew Berry didn't trade him, and you see what type of toxic environment
Yeah.
that created.
Although
Listen,
Kareem,
that's a dicey position 'cause
Kareem
they're
Hunt
divas
wanted to
now.
be traded, and they didn't trade him. I know he's a running
Also,
back, but
Raquan Smith, the most guaranteed money to an inside linebacker ever. Now, Jay, I got a question for you. Take tag board for it for me, Steve. This was a tweet I had a couple days ago. I'm all in on Flores like everybody else. But I truly believe Flores being an alpha male, a dominant figure, and possibly a contingency plan if Stefanski fails next year, that it can have a negative impact on Kevin Stefanski, but
Could.
his addition can have a positive impact on the Browns. To that you say what?
Yeah, I would not make him the head coach and fire Kevin Stefanski right now. All that being said, you guys remember in the mid-'80s when the Chicago Bears were having, I know you don't remember, Chicago Bears were having a ridiculous season. The only team that beat them was Miami. They ran the
85.
table. They won the Super
I still
Bowl.
can't believe they lost that game to Miami.
I can't either.
That was
a
the
Monday
best
night
team
game
I've ever seen.
And it was and it was funny because Miami was playing for the 72 team.
Who did they
were
beat in the Super Bowl? Who was the
Miami
remember?
in 72?
No. Who did the Bears beat? 85 Bears beat in the Super Bowl.
Patriots.
But who was the quarterback?
Grogan?
No.
Who was the quarterback? Oh, Eason?
Tony Eason.
Yeah, Tony Eason.
The Bears destroyed every opponent in the playoffs.
Well, they beat him
destroyed
like 55.
I don't even
But not just that game.
They beat everybody.
The entire
Beat
postseason,
the
they killed
brakes
everybody.
off of everybody. But the reason I bring that up
They
is
hated each
because
other, right?
there was a lot of infighting on that team between the defense and the offense. There really was a divide.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple documentaries, and I've even talked to some of the
Ditka and
players.
Buddy Ryan hated each other.
They did, but Ditka didn't hate Ryan. Ditka had what Ryan wanted,
Yes.
which was the head coaching job. And all of the defensive players wanted Ryan to be their head coach because Ditka was a ball buster.
Yeah.
He was hard on those guys. He would almost never compliment them. It was clearly a good cop, bad cop, and it worked. When things went terribly wrong, that team should have won 3 championships. When things went terribly wrong was when the power struggle carried into the next season, and there were clearly 2 factions, and it was Ryan against Ditka. They were taking, Ryan was taking subtle shots at Ditka through the media.
And it all went downhill.
And that's why I'm always weary when an alpha male, I thought Greg Williams was that here.
Yeah.
I thought he was the alpha in the room. And I didn't know that was a good situation.
Yeah.
And that
By the
would
way, for
scare
the
me.
record, anybody that refers to themselves as an alpha male is definitely not an alpha male.
I
Yeah, you're right.
appreciate
That's
that.
100%.
There
You
you
cannot
go.
call yourself
If you
an alpha
call
male.
yourself an alpha male, you're not.
Yeah.
You're hiding
That's
insecurities.
like calling yourself a
definitely.
man's man.
Right.
Or-
You're hiding
probably not.
insecurities.
Or calling yourself humble. Somebody else has to call you humble,
Yeah,
my man.
right. You can't do that.
Listen, I'm not worried about it with Brian Flores.
I'm not either. Yeah.
Brian Flores, I think, would have an opportunity to take a defense that has talent, maybe not as much talent as we thought, but there's talent here. Let's not kid ourselves.
There is.
And Kevin Stefanski is basically going to say to Brian Flores,
Do what you want.
do what you want, just kick ass, you know?
Yes.
And Brian, that's a great opportunity. And if Brian Flores turns around the defense, and if Deshaun Watson is the quarterback we think he is, the Browns will be really good next year. I know it's always wait till next year, and those are big ifs. I get it.
Yeah.
But if those things happen, the Browns will be a legit contender. They'll be good, and Brian Flores will get an opportunity to be a head coach.
Did you ever play for a coaching staff where the dog wasn't the head coach?
Yes.
And was it a problem?
Not really. It just
You hesitated.
Well, I'm thinking about it. It was bad when that person left and the other person was still there. Like the alpha male left.
Now then you got a void. Then you got a void of
There's
leadership.
a void. Like I remember, we went. My coaches that were there it was Jim Grove, and they all left and they packed up and they went to Wake Forest. So my defensive line coach Ray McCartney, like I feel like he was the only middle-aged dude I knew was single. Like he was still in the street. Like he was this white dude. He had his slick back game on. Like he ready to go. He be in 2 days. We like, where Ray going? We smell that brute. But Ray McCartney had that brute on. We knew he going out tonight. He got him a nice little fast date. Ray McCartney used to say, listen, famous for this. He said, hey man, don't tell me about the labor pains. Just show me the baby. Like, don't nobody care about them 9 months.
Yeah.
They say you get your now today you would probably get fired for that because they'd be like, you can't disrespect women like that. But he's saying, look, 9 months, they give you flowers in the hospital because you've delivered. He used to tell us it don't even matter. Listen, if you make the wrong play, you in the wrong gap, the only way you're gonna get talked to is if you did not make that play. And I said, I like you. Because I'm going to make all the plays.
So he was more about he was the math teacher that wanted you to get the right answer.
Right answer.
But didn't care if you showed the
However
work.
you got there.
However you got. And that type of coach for a defensive player is a godsend. Because you know what they're going to do? You're going to go out there and play your game. And that's the thing about high-priced players and Pro Bowl players. You just want them to play their game. They say, Odell Beckham isn't precise on his routes. That's not his game.
Yeah, he's not a route runner. He's a ball catcher.
He catches. Just figure it out. Myles Garrett need to be on that type of time.
McNuggets, I'm going to start with you, and we'll all weigh in.
Okay.
You're Jimmy Haslam.
Yes.
I don't know if Stefanski gets to make this call.
I'm cashing out all my stock right now.
First of all, if I was running a team, my head coach would hire all of his assistants, period.
For what it's
I don't
worth.
want an analytics guy telling me who to hire. I don't want a GM telling me who to hire.
For what it's worth, Stefanski did say in his press conference it was his decision to fire Joe Woods.
And I believe
true or not,
well,
who knows,
I do believe him because I think Stefanski, if he says something, I think that it's true. What I have to wonder about is what he doesn't say.
He
came out and said that he was the one that told Joe Woods that he was fired. I was glad to hear that, and I hope it was his decision. I hope it wasn't forced. And I hope that Jimmy and Andrew Berry have empowered him to make the next selection. That's a real strict fraternity. If you haven't been a member of it, you don't get it.
Yes.
Let the head coach pick his assistant coaches. You're Kevin Stefanski.
Yes.
Who are you hiring?
Flores is my number one choice. And I'll 2 reasons. A, we just watched a defense that was passive, rushed forward, played coverage, and it drove us all crazy because we wanted to see more aggression.
Right.
Schwartz is only going to rush 4. He's not a blitzing defensive coordinator. He wants to get pressure with his 4 guys, let everyone else cover, play zone on the back end. I want to see Flores. I want to see a little more creativity. I think he can unlock Myles Garrett. And real quick on Flores and Stefanski and that relationship, if it ever came together, I've never talked to Kevin Stefanski in my life. Never once. But Aditi has, Jason has, and Mary Kay has. And they all told us yesterday in one show that Stefanski would not be intimidated by Flores, and he would be able to do his thing. Flores would be able to operate in his own realm without
he's comfortable.
Without
By
crashing.
the way, I
heads.
have talked to Stefanski too.
Do you believe that?
And this idea that he has this out-of-control ego and always tries to be the smartest guy in the room, I agree with them. I don't believe that. I think Jason said, I don't know if he said this off the air or on the air yesterday, he might have said it to me off the air, that sometimes the way he talks, it seems like he's being arrogant. It comes off that way, but that's not the intent.
And that's my point.
But he's not. I don't think he is
I
at all.
don't think he's ever said anything that's made me think he's arrogant.
Yeah.
I think
it's
it's his coaching style. It's the fact that not just the media and the fans locally that have been screaming to use Chubb and Hunt together.
Yeah.
I've heard brilliant offensive minds in the national media and former players that have been in systems. Leroy Hoard, who's going to be with us in a minute.
Yeah.
All scream and yell, why aren't we seeing these guys together? And Stefanski's refusal to do that is the reason that I've said, is this guy arrogant? Is he just trying to...
Yeah, I mean, we could argue whether he should do that, and I thought he should too. I just don't think it's because I don't think he has a my way or the highway attitude in the end. And I agree with Brian Flores.
That's your choice, too?
Yes. I don't want Brian Flores to be my head coach, by the way. All this talk about Brian Flores. Like, he may be a good head coach someday. He made some huge mistakes in Miami.
He did.
He handled – I don't love Tua. I know you don't love Tua. But he handled Tua poorly.
Very
The way
bad.
he handled him was a big mistake, and hopefully he'll learn from that. But I don't want – I want him to be the head coach of my defense. I want him to blitz. I want him to be creative. I want him to turn Myles Garrett into
TJ
all
Watt.
these other
Well, I'm
guys.
with you then. So that makes it
Let's go
3-0
crazy.
Brian Flores. Who you
Hey,
want?
man, let's go ahead and throw the cherry on the top 4-0 Flores.
Yeah.
And by the way, we worry about the wrong stuff. We 7-10. When you're a 7-10 team, ain't nobody done well enough to be thinking about what if next week or down the line we're gonna make Flores. No. Flores need to worry about getting his stuff back together in the league and repairing his image. And Kevin Stefanski sure as heck don't got no time to be insecure. If you are a head coach or you are anybody in a competitive sport, that's like saying we're going to invite somebody to come on the show and they insecure. All that's going to mean is they're not going to talk the whole
but
show.
some coaches are.
You can't have that.
I don't think Stefanski is.
I don't think.
And by the way, I don't know
think
who
he
said
is.
it yesterday. Maybe it was you. Someone yesterday said, no, the right way to look at this is my ass is in a sling.
I need somebody.
I'm about to get fired
Yeah.
if this defense doesn't make major improvement. Who's the best person to help that?
That's all I care
That's
about.
it.
If I'm
It.
Stefanski.
And if you are concerned about bringing in an alpha guy because he might run over you, then you are definitely
You're not
not
ready for the
head
job.
material.
Did you guys know, by the way, I didn't know till this morning, Flores has never been in D.C.
Yeah, I saw.
Did you
I
know
saw,
that? He's
he
never been
actually
in his
been
whole
in
career.
DC.
No,
Never
but
been
he's
in
always
DC.
been on the defensive side.
Yeah,
Always
he's
been on
He
the
has
defense.
that
linebackers
Belichick
coach,
thing.
secondary coach.
Yeah.
So he
He
coached
nobody
under
ever gets named the
Yeah,
DC,
he
right?
coached under Belichick, so therefore you are not the defensive coordinator.
I'm just saying,
You're
this
my
dude's been coaching
defensive
forever.
elf.
He actually
And
hasn't
he was
been in DC.
basically the DC when he was
Miami,
in Miami
yeah.
for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I'm just saying, never
they
had
had
that
a
And
good
their defense
record.
was good.
They were his first year when they were basically tanking, or the owner wanted them to tank. They were dead. They were
Dead
They were
last.
the worst defense. They were the worst defense before he got there. His first year, they were still dead last. The last 2 years, they were top 10 defenses.
If you got one coach that's passive and is not very vocal, you need one coach to be unlikable, like severely.
The good cop, bad
Yeah.
cop.
Yeah, like Tim.
and that's what they would have.
One of my defensive
like that
coordinators
setup.
was Tim DeRuyter, right? And Tim DeRuyter went on to coach Texas A&M and Von Miller and everybody else, right? And he's just not very likable. Shout out to Tim DeRuyter, by the way. Like, I mean, outside of the
Even
building,
though you don't like him, shout out.
Shout out to. But it don't matter. One thing you couldn't do, you could not run the ball on us. It was just not gonna happen. Like, because that's what he cared about. He even was like he was inflammatory. He'd walk up and start something with you. He'd be like, you're not looking good today.
You guys remember we interviewed Coach Curley in our pre-show?
Yeah.
That was Curley. I love Curley off the court.
Yeah.
I hated Curley on the court.
Hate
And
him.
Well,
OB
listen,
was
most
very
of our
passive
favorite
and
coaches,
chill.
at least for me, I don't know, most of my favorite coaches in my lifetime were the biggest hard asses I ever played for. But the reason they're now my favorite is because when we're young, we're dumb. And we don't want to hear anybody tell us stuff we think we know.
Yeah.
But as we age and we look back, we realize how little we knew and how the toughest coaches were able to get the most out of us. And, for me, it was my wrestling coach who taught me valuable lessons outside of wrestling about discipline and self-drive and things that my baseball coaches never really were into because baseball's not that kind of sport. So I think to get a Brian Flores type in here, I think guys, we've been basically all year long begging for Brian Flores. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
We've been begging for someone to stand up and show a pair and to care and to push and to drive. Coach or player, where is it?
This defense needs it. And our secondary in particular needs to play with aggressiveness.
Have you just think about this. So usually as a man, you don't get to your earning peak performance and your earning power till you, mid-40s?
40s.
Mid-40s, right? These kids are, and I'm saying not kids, but young men are making more money than any other person that would be in that age group.
Sure.
And what I realize is I go back and look at my coaches. I look at it and say, I thought I was playing hard, but was I really playing hard?
Right.
I thought I was pushing myself, but was I really pushing myself? And then you look back at certain periods and you be like, Well, I got responsibilities now. Back then, I didn't. I wasn't working that hard. And
You thought you were at the
You
time.
thought you was.
Think about
That's youth.
That's the youth.
You think
that's
about
the
the
myth.
money you make in whatever job you do, like making the money I make now versus the almost no money I made when I was 25 years old. But what I would have done with the money then.
Oh,
Yeah.
you've been in the streets.
Yeah,
I would have just.
My
You'd have been in the
dad,
streets.
my dad had a funny line. He used
Yeah.
to tell me, "There's a reason you don't make a lot of money when you're young."
You-
Because I was out of college, I was making $15,000 a year,
Yeah.
and I was always complaining about it to my dad. He goes, "Your days are ahead.
Yeah.
When you're smarter and you won't screw up that
I would have
money."
pissed it all
Yeah,
away.
oh.
And isn't
I would
that
too.
true though? Like
would too.
we're not ready for
100%.
it. But for professional athletes, it's the other way around.
That's right.
They're earning all of their money before they're 30, and then after 30, they're looking around going, "Wait, where's that easy gravy train $5 million a year money?"
They wake up and don't understand. And you need a coach to be like, we don't care how much money you make. I don't even like you like that. As a matter of fact, when a coach work you so hard and he don't give you no compliments, he on you for every little small thing. When you get to the field, you not only is mad at the other team, you trying to prove something to him. Like, I can't believe you told me I wasn't no pass rusher on third down.
I know.
And Clowney went and did that to Flores. There would not be no Clowney.
No, you're right. I don't think that would have. I don't think Clowney would have happened under Flores.
No.
I think, to me, and you guys played at a higher level of sports. All of you played at a higher level of sports than I did. But I would say, from my years in radio, I think the perfect boss, the perfect coach, is a guy. You know how we talk all the time about heart and analytics. You got to find a good balance. I think it's the same thing with a coach. If a coach is crapping on you all the time and shows you no love at all, you're going to be like, screw him. It's going to piss me off. I think it goes negative.
Right.
But if he's on you, but you feel like he's on you because he loves you and he wants to get the best out of you, that's the best coaches.
And that's the hardest gear to find.
That's
for most
right.
Coaches. Leroy Hoard's on with us now. Before we get into this coach talk, I'm just wondering what the hell it feels like to have lost to a team that lost the national championship by 60 points. That's got to be a hell of a feeling today.
Look at him.
You know what he's wishing right now?
What is happening?
He's
Wait,
lucky.
wait,
He would
wait.
never say that if I was in the room with him.
Yeah, like
All right, Jay.
that hurt.
You know I love you, Leroy.
I couldn't even laugh myself to that one.
Here's the fact of the matter.
Yeah,
On Monday night, we was both watching.
we were.
There
How
you
we
go.
got there don't matter.
Yeah, you're right.
If you can handle, we only lost because of a missed field goal, and that makes you sleep at night, good for you.
You know it doesn't. It made it worse.
Right.
It made it worse.
It made it worse.
It did.
You was
Well, how
this
do you
close.
think? Wait, how do you think we scored 2 touchdowns for them?
I know you did. It's got to be just
And then
as
got
bad
the
for
ball
you.
in. When you get the ball inside somebody's 5-yard line 3 times and only get 3 points, and you throw 2 pick sixes, you ain't supposed to win. I knew that game was over a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Leroy, let's
You ain't
talk.
gonna win that game.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, Leroy, let's talk about coaching because we talked about this. Whenever a team has a soft-spoken coach and it doesn't work, you want the badass coach. And then if the badass coach doesn't work, then you want to go back to a soft-spoken coach. In your experience, what kind of coach did you prefer? And did the coach need to find a balance? Was it good to have one like the head coach be a badass and the coordinator be more mellow and vice versa? What's your take on all that?
Just a coach that I respected,
Okay.
so that no matter what approach he took, I knew it was for the best version of me. And probably one of the most harshest coaches I ever had was Bill Belichick. Come on, dude. He was, but at the same time, right? You understood that dude could coach any position on the field. He would walk up and down the lines during practice or pregame, and he would tell every single person something about the guy they were facing. And you respected the hell out of that. So all the other stuff, all the other antics that came with it, you realize that we were in this to win. Okay? And same thing with Denny Green. Denny Green, he didn't too much have conversations with you. He empowered his coaches, but he let them know what was up. and then the coach that you had will come and talk to you. So there's a number of ways of doing it, but let's think of it this way. Anytime a new manager or a new boss comes in, he could come in one or two ways. He could come in understanding, yeah, I'm the boss, but I need to show this team that I'm worthy of this title. Yeah. Or you can come in and say, I'm the boss, you're going to do what I say because I'm the boss. You see, both things can accomplish the same thing. However, one does a better job of it. You see what I mean?
The first one.
Right. And so what I fear about the Browns right now, and I don't know what the relationship is with Kevin Stefanski and everybody. I think he only has an interaction with a handful of players, and nobody else knows who the hell Kevin Stefanski is.
Is that bad in your view?
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
You would think
Absolutely.
It would be.
Because guess what? It's the head coach's job to get the best out of you. And if that defense is slipping, sometimes you need to hear the head man come over there and say something. Not just your coach, who you've been friendly with. The relationship of your position coach and the defensive coordinator is a lot different than your relationship with the head coach. You ain't never worried about your running back coach firing you, but you worry about that head coach. So when that head coach come over and talk to you, it has a little bit different feel to it than having the same words come out of your position coach. I think what people fail to realize is that, you know, some of the best coaches and some of the best coaches are the guys who were special teams coaches. You know why? Because that's the only coach on the field that interacts with both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point.
John Harbaugh. Right?
So when you look around, a lot of times the interim coach
Bill Cowher
ends up being the special teams coach. You look at John Harbaugh. He is one of the few people that can have a relationship with everybody on the football field as soon as he comes in. He's not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy.
Hey, Leroy, was Cowher the special teams coach in Cleveland when you played? Did you ever?
Cowher? No, he was already at Pittsburgh.
Wasn't Bill Cowher a special teams coach in Cleveland at one point in his career?
Special teams, he coached linebackers. He did.
Yeah,
he
but
did
that was before your time here then, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering if you'd ever played for him. Let me ask you about this. You're a perfect person to ask about this because you live in South Florida.
Let me get this real quick. He was the special teams coach for the Browns 85 and 86, and then the DB coach 87, 88.
All right. You live in South Florida. I know that along with the Browns, you pay very close attention to the Miami Dolphins. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on Brian Flores. Would he be the right guy for this defense right now?
Yes.
Why?
Here's why. He is very structured. He knows what he wants. He demands it. And if you can't perform or do what is asked of him so that he knows where all of his players are, the hell with you.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, I don't think anybody does.
Certain teams call for certain things. This team don't need no more nice guys. You need somebody to put them in check, to let them know what's up. They are way too talented on that side of the ball to not be more productive. And so when you think of a defensive coordinator, and I'm going to tell you like this, anybody know any nice defensive coordinators? I don't.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be.
Joe Woods.
Right. Because they want.
He's a former defensive coordinator.
They want their guys to be nasty. They want to have attitude. The defensive coordinator and defensive coaches are like hype men. They are always the most enthusiastic on the field. The offensive guy is mellow. He's sipping on a little cognac, calling out the plays.
Right.
Right? The defensive coach got to dip in. He's spitting all over the place, and he's yelling at everybody.
That's the way it should
That's
be.
the intensity. That's the intensity that defense has to be played with. Think of all the defense coordinators. When Bill Belichick was the defense coordinator for the Giants, with all that star power, all they show him on the field doing on the sideline is yelling. That's the mentality you have. Because you have to understand, defensively, it's an attitude. You asking a guy to go and tackle somebody running full speed at you with the ball. You can't be no coward. That's part of the game. You can't be making business decisions. You want 11 guys flowing to the ball. How do you flow to the ball? Energy. Energy. You want a guy to fight like hell up front, get penetration. That's all energy. So you need a guy that comes in to portray that.
Leroy, though, on that,
Y'all can't be sitting on the sidelines as a defensive player sipping on cognac.
on that same
You
wavelength,
drinking a
though,
Red Bull.
Before you ask your question, I think I missed my calling. I should have been a defensive coordinator. I'm the best yeller there is.
Yeah,
That's
but you don't
true.
chew.
he can start
I don't
chewing.
chew?
Hey,
You need that dip.
Oh,
Didn't
you
you hear
gotta have the
Leroy?
dip?
They
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh, a lot of them.
You can chew sunflower seeds.
I think
but
I-
those-
I remember
Yeah, you
Freddie Puckett at Ohio State.
I'd be
used to
good
put
at
that big
spitting
dip in.
and yelling and cursing.
Yeah.
I'd be great at that.
Yeah.
Leroy, but
Hey,
Leroy, real quick though, with Flores' attitude though, we were just talking about this ourselves. Do you think Kevin Stefanski, knowing he's in the position he's in where there's questions about his future, would welcome a guy in with such a different personality who has that alpha dog mentality when from what we've seen Stefanski doesn't?
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Offense is different than defense. Right? 90% of defense is attitude. The mentality in which you go in. See, I appreciate defenders because it's like running back. Right? If a running back's any good, he gonna take that beating for the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter. Keep getting up, keep getting up, keep getting up. Eventually, something got to give. And as a running back, if you come into a game and say, it ain't gonna be me, then eventually you're gonna succeed. And that's defense. Defense, you have to be aggressive on every play. You have to know what to do. You have to get after it. And it's a different mentality. If you don't have a guy that can express that mentality of how the game is going to be played, forget about what they have to do. I'm talking about just the mentality of soon as you get on the field, this is how we're going to play. You need a guy to portray, to get that message across to that defense. Because you can't be a coward and play on defense. And I'm telling you that from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, no, it's
And I know some of the toughest
grown
guys
men.
I ever played with. It didn't matter size. It didn't matter. It was the relentlessness of a defender. You knew, hey, I better button my chin strap. This dude brings it the whole game. And you know those guys. That's what this defense needs. Not just everybody want to rush the passer when you're up 2 touchdowns.
yeah.
But
Let's bring in a Buckeye.
Who gonna get me a stop on 3rd and 4th and 1?
Yep. Let's bring in a Buckeye. Robert Smith joins the conversation. Robert, we're talking about the new defensive coordinator for the Browns, who that should be. I know you're familiar with Brian Flores. You certainly called some of his games while he was a head coach. You've seen him in action now with the Steelers as a defensive assistant. Is he the right guy at the right time for this DC job, in your view?
I don't know, honestly. I didn't
Really?
call any of his games as a coordinator. I mean, I've heard good things about him as a coordinator. I don't know that it went very well, handling Tua down there in Miami. But, to a degree, Leroy's right. But there are notable exceptions. 2 of them would be Tony Dungy, who was our defensive coordinator the first 4 years when I was in Minnesota, and Dave Aranda, a guy that I did a game with last year down at Baylor. And the vibe you get off of Dave Aranda is it's so eerily similar to Tony Dungy. And here's the thing, you do have to play with emotion, but you also have to know what you're doing. And if you have a coach, this is the saying about coaches, like coaches and players. If players don't care what you know until they know that you care, and if you know what it is that you're doing, and if you are consistent with that message, then you can get that point across. Guys don't need to be yelled and screamed at, but I do agree that defense has to be played with emotion. And, you know, we called the 49ers game last weekend, and it's just great how that attitude is just, it's the whole team, man. It's the whole team. Like, they're punching each other in the face at practice. Like, they want to be physical, right? Both sides of the ball. But I don't know enough about Flores personally to know if he's the right guy.
You bring up an interesting point, Robert, about Tony, because I was in Tampa for the 4 years, his last 4 years there, and he had an all-time great defense with a Hall of Famer and perhaps two Hall of Famers in the back end. He had Derek Brooks in the middle. He had Warren Sapp up front, Lynch and Barber on the back end. This was like a Baltimore Ravens, Chicago Bears style all-time great defense. And the general consensus in Tony's last season was the missing piece was the attitude, that he was too nice, that guys had too much say at what went on in that locker room. And lo and behold, much to the chagrin of the media, because we loved him, and to the chagrin of his players, because they, to a man, many of them wept when Tony was let go. The next year, they bring in John Gruden, a fire and brimstone guy, and we're looking around like, man, we've never seen this at training camp before. He was running it like like Camp McKinley. I mean, it was like boot camp. And what do you know, with the same players, 12 months later, after they fire Tony, they're hosting the Lombardi Trophy. So I know that Tony is the outlier, and yes, he did win a Super Bowl with an all-time great quarterback later in Indianapolis, but I'm wondering if there wasn't something to that mentality, that to be truly tough and to truly be the best team, you got to have a little hard ass in you, and Tony had none.
Yeah, but he coached many defenses down there in Tampa that were top-level defenses. So, you know, you can talk all you want about, well, it's because of the players, but he was getting the most out of those defenses as well. So, but I think it's interesting. Tony Dungy was our defensive coordinator with the Vikings for the first 4 years, and he ended up eventually winning the Super Bowl on the other side of the ball, right?
Right.
You just mentioned it with a quarterback, and
Same thing with Brian Billick.
Brian Billick was our
right,
coordinator, and he won on the defensive side of the ball. So, there's something to that, I guess, but there's also something to messages getting stale after time and continually upgrading and surrounding yourself with the best people. The formula's not simple. If it was, everybody would be winning.
Right.
But Robert, let's think of it this way. Part of that is also, as a head coach, you have to know how to deliver that message. Everybody doesn't handle yelling well. Everybody doesn't, and you have to know the right buttons to push. The one thing I'll say about Tony Dungy, you could go to any player in the NFL, they respect the hell out of him. Yeah. And that's a respect that he carried wherever he went. So
still does.
He could get his message across without yelling, because the respect that man has in the NFL is unbelievable. So there's many ways of doing it. But I just look at it from, the defensive point, and playing against defenses is that the intensity in which a defense has to play to be successful. They have to lie to their bodies all the time. Yeah. As a running back, we kind of have to do it too. Because you take that pounding a lot before you break free. And you got to be willing to take it, and you got to be willing to sustain it and just stay the course. Defense is like that too. And sometimes you just need that message to be delivered to let guys know the intensity. We all think that we can do it ourselves. We all think you get into the league a while, you don't need nobody to motivate you, that you're a pro and you could do it yourself. But I'd be damned if every Saturday night I wouldn't sit in that hotel and listen to Denny talk and me and my roommate went back to the room and wanted to beat the hell out of each other. Right. Like I can't explain it. It's something about coaches delivering messages that stick with you. And part of it all starts from this concept. If you respect that man and you know that he's looking out for your best interest and we all on the same page and he don't have no ill will with the message that he's delivering, then however that message comes, you receive it. And I think that's the message I got from Bill Belichick, I got from Denny Green, is that when you respect the guy and you know that he's only looking out for all of our best interests, then you all in. And that's how it was with those two coaches.
Very good. Leroy, listen, we want to take a second here to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us every week throughout the NFL season. Your insight has made us laugh. Yeah. Your stories have made us cry. And your insight has made us smarter. So for all of those reasons, we thank you. We look forward to having you again next season once a week.
Can you record this and send it to Robert?
Yeah.
The last part. The last part.
and the dinner he paid for G and I made us full too.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, listen, checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Leroy, you're the best, man. We love you.
Thanks,
Have a
Leroy.
great off season, and we'll see you as news warrants throughout the off season. But definitely, we'll see you when next season begins. Leroy Hoard.
Absolutely, guys.
He's been great.
Later, Robert.
His stories have made me cry. I mean, I'm laughing so hard at times I can't catch my breath.
Yeah.
But that's
They've
Leroy
been-
Hoard.
they've
He
been
makes
elite.
any party better. He makes any show smarter.
Yeah.
And we're better because he's been a big part of our show.
Yeah.
So
Shout
thank
out
you
to
very
Leroy.
much.
Yeah.
Now, Robert, the one thing that we want to move to is the whole, and by the way, there's DeMar Hamlin news. He is now out of the hospital. He was transferred from a Cincy hospital to a Buffalo hospital on Monday. He's now released and is home, which if you would have said that 9 days ago at about 9:30 p.m. when we're watching the NFL really get thrown into neutral, that this guy would be at his home and seemingly fine. Not many of us would have believed that, but we all would have prayed for that. We did pray for that, and now it's a reality. So we're thrilled about that. Next step is, can he resume his career, and if so, what will that look like and when? But, Robert, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about was there seems to be a lot of misinformation, disinformation, confusion, to be quite frankly. I think in my case it's confusion. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's real and what isn't. And when it comes to benefits, what players are according
eligible
to the agreement, what they're eligible for. First of all, tell us the position that you're in, and I ask you to do it because I think it gives you a sense of cachet. You may know this stuff as well as anybody. And then what your takeaway is from the days that followed Hamlin's injury.
So how long do I have here?
Go till you need it, man. Just go.
Okay, so first of all, I came in the league in 93. 93 was the first year of the rookie salary cap. It was the first year of free agency. So there had been this big lawsuit that finally was getting settled, part of the Reggie White settlement. And when I was a rookie, we were the first class of rookies that got paid less than the rookies the year before. And I was furious about this. And Gino Toretta got drafted up there. And when the union came in and Gene came in, we were making all this kind of noise. And, how can you guys agree to a deal like this? And, the next year, Steve Jordan, by the way, was the player rep that year. And the next year, I became the assistant player rep. Jack Del Rio became the rep. And our stated reason for doing it was to go out and get Gene Upshaw fired. Because we had heard all these things and faced the reality, in some cases, of having lower salaries than players the year before. And what I found out when I got out to the annual meeting for the player reps was that a big reason why we got less as rookies that year was because when the pension was first started in the early 70s, those players, a lot of those players would end up on ESPN and a lot of national news outlets complaining about the union, complaining about benefits. When they first started the pension, they decided to exclude an entire class of players that had played before 1959. And the reason that they did that is so that they could get higher pensions. So they were claiming that they built the game, but they are the ones that, when the pension was first started, decided they didn't want those guys included so that they could get higher pensions. So hypocritical is, kind. In 1993, Gene and the union decided to add all of those guys. And most of them, well, not most of them, but some of them had passed away, but their spouses were now receiving pensions. And for people that don't understand pensions, they're very expensive to pay to people that are already retirees because you haven't put money away and that money doesn't grow. So where does that money come from? It came out of player salaries, and in particular, it came out of younger player salaries, rookies. So I became a disciple of the union and decided for the rest of my life I would do whatever I could to help the players. And since 1994, I have served in some capacity, either as a player rep, an assistant player rep, an executive committee member, agent disciplinary committee, but now, most importantly to this conversation, I serve on the NFL Pension and Disability Board. The NFL Pension and Disability Board is not the NFL. Common misconception. It is what's called a jointly administered Taft-Hartley fund. And that means that the management side and the union have equal representation. And so this board consists of 3 union appointees, 3 league appointees, and then some alternates. And we have equal say in these cases and how disability cases are decided. And, Gee, nothing but love, man. We had a great conversation, and I know that, you were taking some information that you had seen in some articles, and, we're very rightly upset about some of the things that you had seen. But I want people to know this. Benefits have never gone down. As a matter of fact, they've always gone up. Now, there's a discussion about doing an offset for some players that are on disability, but that are also on Social Security. And these things are negotiations, and, it's common to have offsets like that. They've just never existed with the NFL Pension and Disability Board benefits. But the benefits that exist, especially for players that are injured while playing, this active football benefit, this would be a benefit. These are catastrophic type injuries. And thankfully, DeMar will not be in this category. But it's possible that he could be. But if a player is injured while playing the game and is deemed to be totally and permanently disabled within 6 months to a year of that injury, then they'll be getting a benefit for the rest of their life, or until they're deemed not to be totally and permanently disabled, in excess of $250,000 a year. Now,
regardless of their status in the league, what if they're a rookie?
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You don't vest into that. Okay. This benefit is paid. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold here. That benefit is paid regardless of the status of the player. So there is that active football, but there's also inactive football, and this is unprecedented in any area of the workforce that I can think of. But anytime a player becomes totally and permanently disabled within 15 years of leaving the game, whether it's football related, they get totally and permanently disabled riding their bike, they're going to be receiving a benefit. It's around $150,000.
Even if it's non-football related.
Even if it's non-football related.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Well, but here's the thing. Like, Jay, this issue has become so distorted because people love telling the story of player against the big bad NFL. Mm-hmm. But it's not the big bad NFL. It's us. It's players. I had a shouting match with Mike Ditka up at ESPN over this. And this is before the congressional hearings that they sensationalized. Because he's fighting for the players, I get it. But so are we. And we're actually in the room. And we have a vote. Now, do all of the players get what they want? Of course not. Like but the problem is this is a selection bias. The only players you hear from are the players that get turned down, and they say, "I was cheated by the system." Well, of course they're going to say this. The thing that we always say is like, you never want to kick the cane, right? Like there's some players that are truly hurting, but there's a distinction that has to be made. And we have to follow federal law, and there have to be standards, and they have to be applied consistently. If a doctor deems somebody to be totally and permanently disabled, they're going to get on the benefit. But if they aren't, then we can't just change the rules and put that person on because the precedent has been set. But the Mike Webster case is a perfect example. And when these congressional hearings occurred, people really sensationalized this because the story was that Mike Webster was abandoned. He wasn't abandoned. Gene Upshaw and Mickey Ars Davis, who headed benefits and helped create these benefits, they actively sought out Mike Webster. They tried again and again to get him to apply. And of course, he was having some major issues, and it took a while. He got his application in and was approved within 4 months. So people that say he was living in his car and he wasn't being taken care of, like his life had definitely deteriorated. There's no question about it. But he was getting almost $100,000 a year from this very NFL Pension and Disability Board that's been so widely criticized. Now, the issue in Mike Webster's case was, did active football apply for him? And again, that's six months to a year after leaving the game. And it was clear he was working for a few years, including working for the Kansas City Chiefs up until about 94, 95, which is about 5 years after he left the game. This is all public record, by the way. I wouldn't be able to talk about it. But he got doctors to say retroactively, these doctors didn't see him for 6 years or so after he left the game, to go back and say he was totally and permanently disabled while he was working in the NFL and while he was working for these other companies. The NFL Pension and Disability Board disagreed with that, and we've updated the rules so that doctors can't opine on situations that it's impossible for them to do. Any doctor, any reputable doctor would tell you can't go back and say what somebody was 4 or 5 years ago, especially if you're not going off of contemporaneous records that are around that time of evaluations that might say that somebody is totally and permanently disabled. So when you look at the case of Damar Hamlin and so many of these other players, we're trying to help. We're trying to do everything that we can. The reality is some players aren't going to get the benefit. And the reality is, unfortunately, there are a lot of attorneys that are looking for fees with these cases. There was an attorney down in Florida, and thankfully we had a highly ethical player that stepped forward and told us about this. This attorney was telling players to go into these examinations and soil themselves.
Oh, wow.
So that they would appear not to be in proper faculty. Like, it's unthinkable, but it's true. Okay? This is because these are very valuable benefits. So, go ahead.
I do have one question. Because I do, thank you for coming on and shedding some light on it. There's always two sides of a story. So the more information that's out there from the Players Association side as well as the player side is always welcome. My question is, if you are deemed disabled by your doctor, say I go to a doctor, my doctor says I'm permanently disabled, and I go to Social Security and Social Security says I'm disabled, do I still have to go before the board and prove that I am disabled before the NFL board? And who makes the determination as to ultimately who is disabled? Is it Social Security? Is it the board? Or is it your doctor?
It is now the board doctors. A board doctor has to say that somebody is, totally and permanently disabled. Now remember, if Social Security says that you're totally and permanently disabled, you're going to be getting a benefit from them. But if our doctors find that you are as well, then you'll also be on the other benefit. But there may be an offset that hasn't been finalized yet. That's the discussion. But again, we hire these doctors, both sides, and either side can strike these doctors. Because if there are 3 votes to remove a doctor, then they can remove that doctor. And this is what happens. If doctors are denying too many people, then the union's going to strike them. And if the players are being approved and the league feels that they're being approved too often, they'll get rid of those. But it just doesn't happen that way. These are doctors that we've done a great deal of due diligence on, but now a planned doctor has to say that somebody is totally and permanently disabled to get the NFL Pension and Disability Board benefits.
Well, hopefully this conversation continues, because I do think that there's this has shed some light on it. I think more than anything we've become educated. There were some things that I thought were true that weren't there, and vice versa.
Well, just a couple of other quick things. Like, people have this image in their mind that these players that are disabled, the only ones that get approved, like, can barely move. Like, it's just not the case at all. It's not the case at all. And this is why you're not going to hear from a lot of players, or maybe any player, that'll come out and thank the NFL Pension and Disability Board and Gene Upshaw and Mickey Yaris Davis for creating this benefit in the first place. They don't want people to know that they're on this benefit.
I've heard that from a lot of guys, because they're too proud.
Yeah, well, they're too proud, but they also may be living lives that some people wouldn't deem to be totally and permanently disabled.
Oh, I see what you're saying. From the fraud standpoint.
And they can still go out and work and get, $30,000 a year from other employment. And as far as the league, and remember, the league concussion settlement and the NFL Pension and Disability Board are 2 separate groups. So we're not doing those evaluations. But I have to say, because this discussion has come up, I'm highly skeptical of the race norming issues. Now, race norming in general is talking about lowering the scores for certain ethnic groups based on a formula looking at the average scores within a population. But I doubt highly, and we're going to find out about this, doctors aren't doing evaluations for the concussion settlement by sitting somebody down and having them taking a test and saying, okay, well, falls into the range of, above or below average. These are relative scores, and these are relative evaluations of a person's cognitive ability over time in conjunction with other evidence related to how that person is living, interviews with people that are living with them. Just has there been this cognitive decline?
Now, I do have to push back on that a little bit. The judge did rule that race norming was a thing. Are you saying that the league is going to appeal that?
It is a thing, and it should be removed. I'm saying that the award of benefits based solely on a test that was race norming isn't going to happen. But
so one doesn't necessarily lead to the other. Yes, it's happening, but no, it's not the deciding factor as to how these benefits are paid. Is that what you're saying?
It's not. Okay. It's not a single test of cognitive ability that is scored based on a race norming formula.
But Robert did say he's not involved with that. So
no, I know that's not his area. Robert, I thank you from all of us for coming on and clearing some of this up, and also for bringing your knowledge, because I know that you have made this really your life's work. I've known you for a very long time. I know you to be very involved in that side of it, and I think there is work to be done. I think the players have to stand up for what they want, and there has to be solidarity, and hopefully we'll get closer to that with this next agreement. Thank you also for your work throughout the season, Robert. You've made our show better. You've always been very insightful, and we appreciate everything that you've given to us throughout this football season. We'll see you in the offseason as news warrants, and certainly at the beginning of the 23 season. So, Robert, great work.
Appreciate you.
Great to see you,
Thanks,
and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, guys.
Very good.
By
A lot
the way,
there.
guys, just some news that just broke. Tua is not going to play for Miami. He's out for this week.
For the playoff game?
It was leaning that way anyway.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, the Browns had 2 players. So for the first time ever, the players are picking the All-Pro teams, voting the All-Pro team. 2 Browns on there, Bitonio and Myles Garrett. No Nick Chubb.
And we talked about last week.
Which is atrocious.
Well, we talked about last week those accomplishments going on your resume as a Hall of Fame decider. And Josh Jacobs, who won the rushing title, ended up getting the All-Pro nod.
So how many teams? So All-Pro is what? Just one team?
One guy.
Just one guy.
First team, essentially.
And you can get other information like this in overtime.
One
Right.
second. We do got more breaking news for you
Okay.
all around the
Go ahead.
NFL. The Jets have relieved offensive coordinator LaFleur of his duties as well. So,
Okay.
Matt LaFleur.
I think that
No,
was
Matt LaFleur's
probably
the Packers coach.
right
Oh,
on
yeah.
the wall.
His brother,
And I
Brian
think,
LaFleur.
I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I shouldn't even say that. I don't know.
They're keeping Zach Wilson.
There's a lot of wind blowing on other coordinators losing their jobs here in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Some of them will be very familiar to us, but I don't want to speculate too much beyond that because I think once you hear the news, you'll be like, yeah, we kind of saw that one coming as well.
But what we didn't see was coming was these memberships.
Yeah, talk about it.
$1.99. We got some new emojis coming. I think we got Jason Lloyd's coming up.
We're at 171 right now. If we get 4 new members, we get Happy Jason Lloyd added to the queue of emojis.
Okay.
Jason Lloyd is very
Okay.
rarely happy.
Compared to constipated.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
which he's in constipated form 98.5% of the time. And tomorrow we have Joe Varden coming into studio, who's Jason's boy, who I've already challenged to piss off Jason. So just be ready for that.
I think it's dope because sometimes when y'all see me typing, I'm not just typing to people. I'm in the chat. I literally be in there and I see all the emojis. I see the badges. So shout out to you guys when they say, "Oh, G Bush is in here. He must be bored." They throw a bunch of G Bush emojis. I appreciate that. $4.99. That's where you want to be. You get all the overtime content. We do this 5 days a week.
What are we doing today in overtime? I like this today.
Yeah,
DJ Hazmat.
Yeah.
DJ Hazmat is dropping his new single in overtime, and we're going to try to peer pressure them into giving us a brand new single over the whole overview of the season. So that's the great thing about that.
And a UCSS song. We're going to try Freshman to make it a UCSS song.
Yeah. That'd be dope, too.
I know.
man.
We're going to try. We're going to listen. He's a busy man.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to
I
ask.
remember that would be big for us to have somebody with his musical cachet. I remember when we were on First Take, we had John Legend do a First Take song, and then what really put us
Lil
over
Wayne?
the top. Lil Wayne did a couple songs
Yeah.
for us, but Lil Wayne loved the show. He and Skip are boys.
Which is the funniest
And
relationship of all
it
time.
might be the oddest relationship that you've ever seen. But he did a couple songs for the show, and they just went nuts viral. And so I think that would be cool to have DJ do a show for. But we got to throw some Benjamins his way.
Yeah,
You know? I mean,
we
that
got
takes time.
cash this man out. We
Yeah.
said, talk to Steve. Listen, get him together. I don't know. You give me some lunch money.
You know
or
what
something.
could happen? The super chats. We should do like a super chat telethon.
Right, it'd be like-
raise the Benjamins
Is that
to hire
possible?
DJ Hazmat
Before you
to do
promise
a song.
anything that we don't know if we can or cannot
Yeah.
do. And I'm saying,
McNuggets
I'm not here listening.
McNuggets was like,
Super
oh,
chats,
whoa.
we know that.
We can't take super. Yeah, we'll.
Whoa. He was like,
yeah.
don't do
We don't
that
know
yet.
if we can take that money and
backdoor
put it
producing right now.
in
Yeah,
any
listen,
other
Yeah,
coffer.
he is. He said, I like that. He backdoor producer right
I'll just listen because it all comes to me, and then they ask me, "What did Jay promise in the show today?" And then I get in trouble for
You
it.
mean someone else is getting that super chat money?
I plead the fifth.
I will say this, man. I do want to say this. You know what the cool thing about this show is, man? Is the fact that you know how you watch some shows and they be all Homer. They be all Homer, right? You be like, they're not going to let many opinions get on here. The great thing about having Robert Smith on is Robert Smith gave a different perspective than what the narrative is out there. And the great thing about it is he said he dedicated his whole life to the Players Association. Right. So there is some new information and some stuff that you have that you can shed some light on and actually be well informed. When you get new information in life, you can take two things and do. You can either dismiss it out of hand, which is not the right thing to do, or you can take that information, continue to do your research and say, okay, well, let me take this and add this, and you get a complete picture. The thing that I really liked about what Robert said is there are some ways in which a person can qualify for a one-time payment if they're completely disabled.
Yes.
So I think that's
Well, I didn't know even his point about you didn't have to be fully vested. It could be a rookie playing in his first game. If he's permanently disabled on the field, $250,000 annual salary for life.
And I think and here's the thing I always tell people. Always do your own research. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Don't listen to what Robert said. Do your own research. He said catastrophic
injury.
Catastrophic injury. Now, I don't know what the language around catastrophic injury is. How do you
remember, he's just talking about the pensions.
Yes.
Some of the other things you were complaining about are beyond
yes.
Which
yes.
I think, well, that's the point. I think two things can be true that are in competition with one another at the same time.
Right.
And I think the information that I didn't know is that it's not the NFL. Like often,
that the players have equal say in the pension.
And that's honestly that's the way it should be.
I still think that the owners don't give a rat's ass about the players.
They don't.
But it was good to get that. The important information from Robert was the players or former players have equal say in who gets approved for pension as the owners.
And
that's
now I will say, the reason you say, well, you didn't ask him any questions. I wanted him to be able to get what he wanted to get out, right?
That's why we gave him the floor and let him go.
Yeah. So, but I still will say, it is kind of precarious the way the league operates. That you do have to go before a board. We've seen the way they operate with Sue L. Robinson. You had to go before.
Well, supposedly it's split of NFLPA doctors and NFL doctors.
Yes.
So you've got to come to a consensus somewhere.
Last point before we do true and false, but G, I think your point's right, and the way you saw NFL current players react is telling.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is. Whether or not, like Jay said, two things can be true at the same time. What Robert's saying and what you're saying are not exactly linear. They're on the same conversation. But the way you saw current NFL players react makes me feel that despite whatever else I've heard, there is a lot of truth to the overall point you were making.
And
now, what Robert would
owners
say,
and the league doesn't give a crap about the players.
What Robert and other retired team reps have told me is, because I asked him about that very point, I said, Jay Feely and I had a conversation about this too, and the one thing I wanted both of them to explain to me is why are the current players co-signing everything G said? And they both kind of chuckled and said, because they're current players. And I hate to say this, but the vast majority of them are either underinformed or misinformed.
Well,
that's on them.
There were former players that,
and that's why I asked DeQuell and Pollard, because I want to hear from them. Both guys out of the league, both guys have experience. And DeQuell said he was
a player rep.
I also think a lot of the former players are talking bigger picture, and Robert was talking specifically pension. I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, that is a distinction for sure.
One other thing, not related to this, Leroy said he loves the idea of Brian Flores.
Yes, he did.
So yet another guy that wants us to.
Well, one thing that is related to this, and Jay, I can confirm this. Two things is true. Anthony worked his ass off on this, true or false, and McNuggets has no idea what it is.
I have no idea.
Are you sure about that?
No,
allegedly.
They wouldn't even show me I couldn't get in the rundown.
Okay,
They
good.
locked me out
So
the
we have
rundown.
integrity.
All right.
Right.
Who's the player
Integrity is
today?
in place.
I lost last week.
If he wins, there might be questions.
He's
Who won
automatically
last
cheated.
time?
Not me.
Tyvus
won
won
again.
You won last
Oh, no.
time. No,
You
Bull.
won.
Oh, Yeah. did?
I
Okay.
beat G in the tiebreaker.
Yes, you beat
Yes,
the title.
yes.
By the way,
Reggie Ragland.
I have
Bull's on a run.
I have
on fire.
the
I'm on
most
fire.
runner-ups of all time. I'm
You
Jay
are.
Mariotti.
You're like the Bills.
Jay Mariotti, that's right.
Or I thought you were the Jim Kelly
Young
Bills.
Marvin Lewis of his time.
Or Marvin Lewis.
I'll take
Can't
that
be the
too.
Bills because you have one.
I have one.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not
You're
Marvin.
like John Stockton.
Who we got?
All right, the subject today is Ricky Rubio.
Ooh,
Ruby. This is kind of.
that's random.
You know, this is my wife's favorite player.
Why?
I don't know.
You like how he looks?
She probably like that Latin thing, you know. She's like Filipina. She's like, his skin is
she
dark, but
smile
not as
when
dark
she
as
sees
mine.
All right.
Did you hear what he asked you?
What do you say?
She be smiling when he come on the TV.
Oh man, she be doing all kind of extra. She's like, is that a Rubio? I said, stop rolling your tongue when you say his name around me like that.
Yeah.
It's Rubio, not Rubio.
Rubio.
Is that Ricky
Question number
Rubio?
one, y'all crazy, man.
All right, here we
Ricky
go.
Rubio was the first player born in the 1990s to be drafted in the NBA.
This is too false. I decided I'm gonna start speaking out loud to try to throw people off. This is false, by the way. What you think, Bull? Don't be listening.
True.
It is true.
False.
McNuggets, is this your opportunity for your first win?
It is. I came in second with McLaurin.
What's happening here? We got an answer?
Do we have an answer?
All right, let's go, Steve.
We were awfully quiet.
Oh, how you, man?
Yeah, no, I knew that one was true. I've heard that before.
I remember he was extremely young when he got drafted.
Well, he was drafted the same year as Steph, so 2007, which means
He was 18. He was just barely
Yeah.
18.
just, oh, damn it.
Steph was probably born in '89.
Sorry, kiddo.
Steph.
All right,
was
next
kinda old.
question.
Dang.
I'll come back.
Ricky Rubio was the youngest player to debut in the Spanish ACB League at 14 years and 11 months.
This is definitely true.
Yeah, this is
Definitely true.
This definitely true. I was gonna say Luka was playing that.
False. Gotta be false. It's a bad job out of you guys if it's true.
We got 3 truths
true.
and
Yeah.
1 false.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
is true.
And I thought,
It is
and I
true.
thought Luka was the youngest because he was like 12 or
But
something.
Luka didn't play in the same league.
Oh,
Let's see what he do.
You,
It's true, though.
You basketball
Ba,
nerds.
ba, 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 ba.
Now let me explain why that's a bad job by these guys.
I'm right back. By the way, I'm
Can't
right
ask 2 questions in a row about the youngest, essentially the same question and
Well,
have
who
the same
says?
answer.
Who says we can't do that?
Is
I
that
think
in
it's
the,
bad.
is that in the charter?
I think that's more.
Is that in the is that in the collective bargaining? I don't
I'm
remember
giving it
seeing
to
The
that.
Articles of Confederation.
Earl and Anthony both get 1 demerit for
the
that.
DeMaurice Smith of true and false.
They could have been throwing you off the trail.
I don't
so
like
wait,
that.
we're the only ones with 2 and 0?
No, you're
You
2
were
and
the
0.
only one.
We're all 1 and 1.
Yeah.
Oh, you missed the first one.
I missed
That's
the first
right.
one.
Pressure's on. Can I
Let them know again, Jay.
Can I close?
We all know the answer. That's no.
Question number 3. Ricky Rubio was named FIBA Europe Men's Player of the Year award
Jesus.
5 times. 5 times.
FIBA.
Come on, man. Ain't nobody
This
done.
is. I know the answer to this one, and that's a good question. Y'all trick you with that one.
And by the way,
Stop
the
giving
only person that won anything 6 times is Jordan or something.
That was
bro.
5.
Yeah.
False.
Come on, man.
False across
Ixnay.
the board.
We got falses across the board. Steve, what is it?
Falsified records.
I got that perfect
y'all out.
game going.
So Jay's up by 1 on all 3 of us.
Yes. You know, this is the quietest true or false
I
we've
know.
ever had. You know why?
People locked in.
Tyvus in here.
Yeah, right?
Should I channel my inner Tyvus?
No.
Challenge, channel your inner Tyvus.
All right.
You're now the greatest at everything you've ever tried to do, and even some things you haven't tried.
I
yet.
once texted Mike, he's Tyvus without the talent.
I was very
thinks he's great.
offended by that.
Yeah, you should be. You
I was
should be.
very offended by that.
That's
I do remember that. I was on that text thread.
that's devastating.
He was
All right, next
he's just
question.
mad because he knows I would lock up Wayne Corbett.
Just before his ACL injury, Rubio recorded his 6,000 career assists.
6,000 was a lot of assists.
And I don't remember.
And I don't remember him saying nothing about
I
that.
don't either.
No,
I think,
No.
I think I would have heard about that.
no.
Hold on.
I just don't remember. I mean, we would have
Okay.
heard about it because
Probably.
it would have happened here in Cleveland.
No.
True.
Go Bucks, go Giannis. True.
We got 2 truths. We got 2 false.
Yeah.
All right, the graphic is blank. The answer to that is false.
What?
Wait, if there's no graphic, does it count?
No.
Oh, it
Yes.
counts.
No, if there's no
Oh,
graphic.
it counts.
No, there's no
I know it
graphic.
definitely counts.
No, there's no graphic. There's no proof.
We had a
The
hiccup
assist
with
number
the
was
V-Man.
5,000.
No, they just
So
got to put
time.
it
Did
in.
you have false?
I have
Nah, I
false.
got
Nah, and listen, so now I'm in
We
second
would have
place
remembered
again.
that. It would have
4-3.
happened here.
I know. I just. Yeah, well,
What was the actual number?
Over
5,043.
Yeah, just barely over
6,000.
5,000.
6,000
That's
a lot of assists.
assists. Okay,
We're not
so
letting one graphic hold us back.
I got 4,
I got 3.
And we got 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm right in second where I should be.
All right, next question.
Yeah.
Ricky Rubio refuses to ever wear Adidas shoes, especially when playing.
He looks like an
ever and especially are interesting there. Ever
Are we talking about Adidas? We're talking about like.
Adidas shoes.
Yeah, it was lowercase though. I don't know. We got to get the grammar right here.
Come on, McNuggets, you backdoor producing again.
All right, listen. I'm Tyvus. I'm doing what Tyvus would do.
Man, I don't even know if they got Adidas shoes out.
Especially when playing.
Well, he
It's a
wasn't.
weird way.
Yeah, that's what's throwing me
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Ever would include ever.
Yeah.
I mean, if you say I never do this, but
So
especially
If
when
we
I-
find one picture of him in Adidas online.
Now I like he look like he wear Adidas Sambas. You know what the Sambas is?
I
Somebody
don't
pulled
think
them
so.
up.
I just made a last-second change.
Oh, you did?
I went with true. I was false the whole way.
I'm going false.
I'm going.
All right, we got 3 truths and a false.
Oh, you're true, so I can't be
Steve,
passed.
whenever you ready.
Can't be caught then.
Ah, why did I switch?
Big false.
Damn.
Why did I switch?
They want my perfect game.
Always go with your first
You're
gut
up
feel.
1 on me and G now. You're up
Yeah.
1 on me and G, and
No.
2 on Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
How many questions left?
2.
I think 3.
All right, we got 3
left?
questions left.
Yeah, you're
Let's give
4
a,
and 1.
update of where we
3,
are.
2.
I
4,
could be
3,
caught.
3, 2.
I could
4,
be
3,
caught.
3, 2.
All right.
Jay can be caught. That is confirmed.
All of which played.
Next question. Rubio has 3 brothers, all of which has played professional basketball.
Can I call my wife? Babe.
Can he use a phone a friend?
phone a friend? Hey, you know Rubio's situation? Yeah. All right.
Hey, if she knows all that, you're in trouble.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen. Don't make me have to. I'll divorce you and get half your money. Hey, alimony. G. Bush out here winning. Yeah, man. Carter messing with Rookie.
I want to change my answer. I'm
gonna go
second-guessing
with
myself now.
That's what I just did in the coffee.
I know, and now I'm in
Go
my
with
head
your,
thinking.
go with your gut. Go with your
My
gut.
wife says false.
I said true.
True.
3 trues and a false. Steve, who we got?
Damn it.
Dang. You know what?
I wanted to change it.
G.
I
Bush, you
wanted
just
to change
tied
it.
me.
I know.
No. G. Bush. It's
tied.
4.
Oh, no, he was. What?
I had 3. That's just a
Yeah,
score.
so 4,
I have
4, 4, 3, and 2.
Okay.
Now,
I knew
listen.
I knew I should have changed
4,
that.
4,
I knew
3,
I
2.
should have changed that.
All right.
I'm changing the locks.
I knew I should have changed
2
that.
to go.
All right, next question.
Let's go.
Ricky Rubio helped FC Barcelona win the Europe League Championship in 2010.
See, this is
See,
cheating.
y'all sneaky with that one. Y'all sneaky
This
with
is
this
cheating because there's too many leagues
Y'all
over
sneaky
there.
with this
It's
one.
100 leagues over there, bro.
Stop saying things, McNuggets. You're
Look, that talking conversation is
one.
getting to it today.
I just talked myself into this.
Stop messing around, will you?
I just talked myself into this.
All right, here we go. True.
False.
What you didn't know is I put a trap card face down. The Millennium Piece has told me that it is false.
We
Merrick.
got 2 trues and 2 false.
this
I
is
would
it.
just say this. This right here will have a major impact on the last question. Steve, take it when you're ready.
Wasn't he in the
5, 4,
That's true.
Wasn't he in the NBA in
3,
2010 though?
3.
I thought he tore his ACL during that time. He was
was-
out that time of year.
He was in the NBA in
No, it
2010.
wasn't.
5, 4, 3, 3, right?
He didn't start playing in the NBA
You got
since
2 left or 1?
2011.
Son of a buckskin rug.
So you and I are out.
We're out.
Yeah.
You know what's
so
funny? I
if you
changed my
get
answer.
this right, you can time me.
I know.
I changed my answer to the wrong one, and the one I didn't want to change, I didn't change. That
I
was
should have
G and J,
played.
how y'all feel going
I'm
into the
feeling
final
great.
question?
I feel like I got this thing. The title,
Dude, you gonna
the
finish
belt is
second
within
again?
reach.
Anthony, I should have played my Dark Magician that last one.
you played the blue-eyed dragon.
But
and
blue eyes. I have another blue eyes in my
All right,
deck.
final question.
All right.
back in the day.
What cards?
Ricky Rubio is the first player to score 51 points in a FIBA junior tournament
Man,
since
we've learned more about
2001.
FIBA than we've ever wanted to know here.
Yeah, that's why these are
A lot
so
of FIBA
tough.
action.
Yeah, they went to Europe for this one.
Rubio's the first player to score 51 points since 2001. Did it say?
Yeah.
Like that's gonna make like I would know what happened before.
Well, you
then.
have Darko Milicic
Yeah, my
scored it in '99.
my pre-2001 FIBA knowledge is slim.
Yeah.
What do you have?
After 2001, I feel like I know it top to bottom. But pre
All right.
Earl, Duke of
These
Earl,
are
killing us today.
me and Bo are the throwaways. I went false
True,
and true. So someone's gonna
false.
finish in last.
Did you win?
I got the belt.
Oh,
I got the
J1.
belt.
What we got?
Son of a buckskin
False,
rug.
false, true.
It's true.
I
Yeah.
ended up in
true.
a tie for second with G.
And it's because G and I
J1.
had the same answer.
That last place finish is for Tyvus. I wanted to do it in his honor.
Mikey finishing dead last.
Just like the fantasy football.
I did it for Tyvus. I did it for
Press
Tyvus.
conference on.
I did it for
Jay, you
Tyvus.
came in, man. You came out strong.
Yeah.
Stumbled down the stretch. How do you feel about your victory?
I feel great. I would feel a lot better about it if Tyvus had been here, because I take special joy in beating Tyvus and all that I do. But it doesn't diminish. It doesn't take anything away from this. It feels good to have that belt back in my possession.
Hey,
so.
somebody need to ask me about my runner-up again. I'm Phil Mickelson. Come on.
I do got a question for you all.
What's up, bro?
So Donovan Mitchell dropped 45 points in his return to Salt Lake City yesterday. But Jordan Clarkson came in with like 15 of his 32 in the fourth, and the Cavs ended up losing.
And some huge threes.
Are the Cavs having issues closing out games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely are. And that's fair. That's a great question, Earl, but I just don't think how you can, I don't see how. Now, they've also pulled some victories from the jaws of defeat, but there's too many games of their now 16 losses.
Yeah.
That they were in position to win with 2 minutes to go, and they did not.
They was up like 7, wasn't they?
They're up
Yeah.
7, then Utah went on a 13-0 run. Their biggest issue late in the game, they don't have a stopper. They do not have one guy you could put out there on a perimeter
On
score.
the perimeter.
Yeah,
I
on
mean,
the perimeter
Who can
for
score.
sure.
Now, Mitchell at times can do that, but like last night, they couldn't ask him to focus his energy defensively because he was literally carrying the offense.
Yeah.
And Karis LeVert, I know he's low-hanging fruit.
Oh,
He's a target,
jeez.
but in that small forward position, the Cavs need a 3-and-D guy, and LeVert is
Yeah,
the
they don't have
streakiest
anything.
three-point shooter on the team.
He is.
And he plays no D. Clarkson cooked him last night. And granted, we watched the highlights this morning. I watched the game last night. Watched the highlights this
Some of
morning.
those threes were wide open.
They were wide open. It's tough to guard dudes in the NBA today. Like, elite offense is going to beat good defense, but he's got to make it tougher. And if he's going to continue to be a streaky shooter and play that caliber of defense down the stretch when they isolated him individually time after time after time, he can't play in the clutch. He just can't be
Well,
on the
Clarkson
court.
said after the game, I saw how they were defending me. And I knew
well,
how to
then who are they
attack them,
supposed
and
to
that's
use?
what they saw.
At some
well,
point,
I
think
don't know
you
that he's
put
on the
Mitchell,
roster
but
right now.
that's my point. They don't have that answer, which is why time
I mean,
after time after
Okoro's
time.
the best defender, but he was sick.
Yeah.
Losing
And
losing Jared Allen.
Jared Allen, to me,
because they got killed on the
when
glass.
he went out, he was sick, and
He played 7 minutes.
As
and then
soon
was
as he
done.
went out, I thought, uh-oh, we're going to need him down the stretch.
Yeah. I
and
think
he
they got
wasn't there.
out-rebounded by 20.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so,
That's effort.
It's so
And
crazy
Olympic
that
didn't
you
even
need
play.
2 rim protectors.
That's true.
It's so crazy that you got to have, because I thought Mobley played, I mean, he had 4 or 5 blocks.
Yeah.
And he erased a lot of it. This season is going to come down to 2 things. And Darius Garland is another one on the perimeter who he defensively, he's just small. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Also, down the stretch, he turns the ball over.
I know he
man.
does.
He
And he's been known to take bad shots in big situations.
and it's like you will deal with it because he's the primary ball handler and he's a younger player. But I think what you're seeing now is I feel completely much better if Mitchell has the ball in the fourth quarter because I know I could get a good shot. I know I'm not gonna have the ball on the ground and they do a lot of trapping him. Like the book is out on Garland.
well, you know why they do?
Yeah,
He's little.
He's little.
He's small, and they know that he's prone to turn it over in that situation.
I think also we still got to remember how young the team is and the fact that Garland and Mitchell are still learning to play together. They haven't played together that much.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I think it's a problem that Mitchell has become. I don't know that he's become last week or so. I don't like the volume scorer.
He shot over
like-
50% yesterday. Though.
I know, but he
took like
did it on
28
he did it on
shots.
47 shots. That's too much volume shooting.
He
You
shot
know?
over 50. I mean, you shot
50%
50%.
is pretty deep.
I'll take
Yeah.
50%.
and he how
I
many
know,
threes
but-
he hit? 6 for what? 6.
He wasn't great from 3. I think he was 6 of 17,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
a little concerned. But 2 of those were late chucks.
It was to me when I think of this volume shooting. In Jordan's early years, he was putting up huge individual numbers, but they weren't winning. We saw LeBron go through that here. Now he had to because there was nobody else.
Yeah.
But this team, I don't think he has to do that.
Don't you think the negative to me of the volume shooting, even though he shot it at a good percentage, is that it doesn't allow some other guys to get into rhythm?
That's my point
right?
exactly.
I mean,
I don't care if he made 50%. What I care about is that meant 4 other guys were standing around watching him for way too long.
I believe that the only way this works out is Evan Mobley, right? There are times when you look at Evan Mobley, he doesn't have a go-to move. Like he doesn't have he doesn't have a jump hook that's money. He's not extra physical where he can just drop step and finish at the rim. Most of his points come from lobs, rim running, and things like that.
Offensive
rebounds.
And so there's not
He needs to be able to create more.
for them to be where they want to go, he got to be scoring 20 a night. And especially when Jared Allen is out and say, for instance, Darius Garland is not having a great shooting night, he has to understand that and become more involved and say, okay, well, I need to be on these boards. Well, I need to be crashing a little more. Put my energy up. Yesterday, it's hard to blame him because he expels a lot of energy defensively, erasing guys, getting beat on pick and rolls. But for the Cavs to be a top-notch seed, they need him to be a guy where people have to account for.
Well, you made 2 good points at that, G. With Allen and Mobley down low, they erase a lot of the other defensive issues with the Cavs. But the reality of the fact is, Darius Garland's a subpar defender. Mm-hmm. Donovan Mitchell can defend when he wants, but last year in the postseason he got torched, and that was part of the issue. and they're not getting any defense from the 3 positions. So their 3 perimeter guys are Swiss cheese, and they funnel it down to Allen and
what
Mobley.
is this? What is the league today?
A perimeter-oriented
It's a 3-point
factor.
league.
And back to your point
That's
with
going to kill him in the playoffs.
It will kill him in the playoffs.
and why I agree, and Jason said it, and I've been saying it the whole time, Mobley has to become a bigger factor on this team. You go back to the last 20 championship teams. Steph Curry last year is the only perimeter guard, to be the best player on a championship team. And you could argue Durant, whatever.
Yeah, but they 7 foot.
And Steph Curry is a top 15 player of all time. Donovan Mitchell in the NBA today is a top 15 player in today's NBA.
Not
We're
all
talking
time, sure.
all-time great
Yeah.
versus very, very good NBA player today. Mobley has to be, if not 1A, 1B to Mitchell, and that makes Garland the B or C option in this hierarchy for the Cavs to reach the pinnacle, which we all hope this team can get to. But it's not going to happen unless Mobley gets more aggressive and they find ways to utilize him more within this offense, as opposed to letting Garland and Mitchell just go one-on-one ISO pick and roll.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed that he didn't add that 1 or 2 inside moves, because usually for big men, as we've seen them progress, they come in the league, they dominated in college. They didn't need those moves.
He didn't dominate in college, though.
I know, but what I'm saying is traditionally, big men, when they come in, they're not equipped to dominate at the NBA level because they're physically not as imposing as they were in college.
Yeah.
So they come in with size but not a whole lot of skill. I thought his footwork is probably about as it was last year. I thought, because we've heard so much about his drive, I thought he was going to go into the lab in the offseason and add 2 moves, 2 go-to moves. That you can't just add 1, because if you add 1, they know it's coming.
Yeah.
Add 2. I've heard big men talk about their progression and how they became superstars at the next level was they keep adding that 1 or 2 moves every offseason. Build that repertoire, and I don't think he did it.
And he's 19. He just turned 20.
I
He's
know.
still so young that I'm not writing him off by any means. But it is, to your point, it is a tad bit concerning, and maybe it's just we haven't seen it because Mitchell and Garland are still figuring out how's this offense going to work when we're all together. But it is a tad bit concerning. We haven't seen even that 5% offensive progress that we had hoped to see from Mobley. I watched him last year. This year,
Do you think Mitchell is stagnating that growth a little?
yeah.
Now there's 2 ball-dominant
There's 2
scorers.
guys, and they should be taking the majority of the shots, so it's just hard for
It's
Mobley
a
to
tricky
find
thing.
a place
You're trying
to
to balance
showcase.
winning and developing at the same time.
It's like when I look at dominant big men, even in yesteryear, right? There's one thing that they all have, right? And I think the league has gone away from this, right? So when you look at Patrick Ewing is money at the elbow. Tim Duncan, money at the elbow. David Robinson, money. Hakeem Olajuwon, anything under the free throw line. Karl Malone made a living shooting that 15 or 17.
Robert Parrish.
All those guys hit that shot. They not gonna shoot threes, but that they know that's money.
And that makes the defense come out and guard that.
And you got Jared Allen, who's going to finish everything on the rim. I think his place should be the high post at all times.
Oh, wow.
He should be able to get that at the high post and play high-low.
Mobley?
Mobley, at all times. And then now y'all can lob. If
And
he
let
can
Allen
work,
clean up at the rim.
if he can work too, man, see, if you can alleviate Darius Garland from having to run that, you can run that with just Mobley because they're 2 7-footers and you get a little touch.
I kind of like that.
He should be operating.
Then it clogs the lane, though, when you got 2 bigs in the paint for what Mitchell does best and what Garland does best, which is space, have open lanes. It's not counterproductive. I'm not saying it can't work, but like both said, they've played 42 games now.
Right.
This is
They
half
haven't played together
so
that many.
This whole team's played 42 games half a season. Garland's missed time. Mitchell's missed a few games. Mobley. It's gonna all fall into place when the time comes.
But here's the thing. Like, the reality of the situation is they don't have the assets to trade for a significant upgrade at the 3.
No, they don't.
They don't.
This team, as good as this team is, as fun as they can be to watch at times, there's no way they're winning a championship.
No, they're flawed.
Right? They can't win a championship.
Not this year.
No. They're a flawed team.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jason, and they don't look. What's the names? Do you know what the Cavs unexpectedly ran across last year? They just made Leroy Marketing a 3. You know, people say it's what he did over the offseason and he played well and unlocked him. No. Listen, when you play, I played 3 in high school. Our 4 and 5 men was like 6'7" and 6'8".
That's a big high school team.
Yeah, it's big. Like, and I'm 6'4", 6'5", playing a 3, right? When you go from being like, okay, I'm just a guy down low to now you got to work on running people off screens and they running you off baseline cuts and you got to handle the ball like if they trapping. It gives you that level of confidence that's like, oh, okay, I could do this. And you see Leroy Marketing. Leroy Marketing will take the ball from start to finish. He finishes in the lane, he shoots. That's that confidence level. Yeah. They might not be able to get a three, but if you could turn Mobley into a three, you'd have solved a whole lot of stuff. Because you can find a stretch four. You could find a guy that can only shoot threes. But if you could turn Mobley,
three is the missing link right
now. Because here's the thing, I watched him switch. The thing the Cavs do a really great job. If you switch Mobley or Allen, they don't get beat.
Yeah.
They do not. They recover. They can hedge. They get back. They got good feet. Guards don't even beat them off, and they still long enough to contest if you do a step back. So if they can go that route, I don't know if he has the requisite offense to be out there yet because he can't.
He doesn't.
He can only take one or two dribbles either left or right before they cut him off. He needs to work on being able to get the ball on the ground and get all the way to the basket. But maybe that's the fix because they are 1-3 away from legitimately being contenders.
For all the talk about wanting to win one without LeBron, I'm still thinking about LeBron in a year.
Oh, he is the perfect fit on this roster, too. He's literally the perfect fit.
You add him to this team?
This team can't win a championship as is. We can pretend they can, but they can't.
They can win the first. I got them going first round.
But that's only if they can get...
If they're home court.
Right. If they're the 5 seed... Like, are they beating Philly or Milwaukee or Brooklyn or Boston?
No.
They could.
They could, but in the playoff,
I don't think they are.
Those teams are all veteran playoff teams.
If Brooklyn is without one of their 2 superstars,
that's a different
and that's
story.
likely, the way they roll. What do you got, Earl?
So it seems like, and it sounds like all of you are not really satisfied with the offensive progression of Evan Mobley. What about the other side of the ball? What about the defensive side?
Oh, he's a star.
I thought he was great to begin with.
He's a star.
I mean, but when you look at him, I thought there was a lot of room to improve offensively, and I expected to see some growth this year offensively, but I haven't. But, defensively, I was happy with him last year, and I'm happy with him now.
But, again, as we said, not all his fault because he's just not getting the ball that much.
Sure. And I don't know that he's going to, moving forward, they're not going to switch their offense to run it through him.
If you got, think about it, you got, for all defensive team, you got 2 guys that I think could legitimately be all NBA defensive team.
Allen and Mobley, absolutely.
Allen Mobley. And Mobley can get, he can just keep going higher. Because like I said, if you switch on the pick and roll, with some of these smaller guards, he's not giving much back right now. He's just sense of where it's at. If the Cavs wanted to be a superb defensive team, and they went out and found a lockdown 3 position, the Cavs could win in an alternative way, which is you can't score.
Yeah. By the way, Steve mentions a good point that we expected Donovan Mitchell to get booed. He didn't get booed at all.
No, in fact, he got a rousing ovation. They gave him a nice video tribute
and everything.
And I think a big part of that was, again, we talked about it yesterday and joked, if there's no one in a forest to hear a tree fall, does it make a sound? The story with his, I thought, pretty inflammatory quotes just didn't gain any traction, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I can't figure out why.
This is viral stuff, right? I don't know why certain news stories hit and some don't. That would be. Here's the thing. That a couple years ago.
Was it because it's Salt Lake City and just no one gives a rat's ass about them?
I think race issues during the pandemic just burned everybody out. Like race.
Yeah, but imagine if when a player says something about race in Boston, we lose our damn minds.
Yes. But Boston has a history and a reputation.
So does Salt Lake.
And I was saying, but so does Salt.
But Salt Lake isn't Boston. Yeah. So I wonder if that was what left it on the cutting room floor.
He's such a nice.
He's a likable dude.
He's well-spoken.
He doesn't say anything controversial. Yeah. That's why, to me, this was such a big story.
He's well-spoken.
He said he hated guac in our interview, and that kind of went not mini viral, but now every time guacamole gets put online.
Guac's disgusting.
Yeah,
guac's delicious.
Love guac.
Gross. Well, everyone tags Donovan Mitchell.
You're not a guac guy?
Guac goes online.
Wow, really?
Yeah, guac's delicious.
I love it.
You're crazy.
Yes.
Inappropriate.
Yeah. And some people just eat it. Some people just be. I don't like hummus or that.
No,
I'm not a hummus guy.
I'm anti-hummus either.
Hummus. You don't like hummus either?
I don't like hummus.
As a Jew? Jew, you don't like hummus?
Why? Is that a Jewish thing?
My mom always made hummus.
It's a
yeah.
Middle Eastern.
okay.
It's a Middle Eastern food.
I'm just not a hummus guy.
Yeah, I just.
No.
I don't care where it comes from. I just
It
don't like
looks
the flavor.
It
It
does
looks
look
like
dis- it looks
diarrhea.
disgusting.
I mean, it's gross.
But it
It
tastes
looks
good.
like baby food.
And I don't like people that eat guacamole or hummus just with a spoon. That ain't
No,
ice cream.
no, that's
Oh,
that's
no, it's got to be
different.
on something.
like that's
yeah.
nasty, bro. Like,
Bagel chips with hummus are the best. Everything,
Yeah,
everything bagel chips.
man,
I like bagel chips with cream cheese.
I like.
I do too. I do too.
I like
I don't
regular
like cream
chips.
Wait a second. You don't like cream
I don't like
cheese?
cream cheese, no.
I've never met anyone who didn't like
Yeah, I'm not
I
gonna
like-
do no cream cheese either.
I don't like peanut butter, which is also very unusual.
That's outrageous to me.
But that's. I bet you there's more
Bull,
people
that's
that don't-
inappropriate.
Yeah.
It is inappropriate, but I bet there's more people that don't eat peanut butter than don't eat cream cheese.
no way.
Well, there's
No,
a peanut
peanut butter's a
allergy.
staple.
Yeah,
Peanut
but
butter.
peanut butter, you
got
can have
pe-
allergies to
Yeah, you
peanuts.
can have
Oh,
allergy,
well, yeah, maybe because of that.
Who doesn't eat? I never heard of anybody not
But you
eating
could be
cream cheese.
lactose intolerant for cream
Yeah.
cheese.
That's true.
I like butter on my bagels.
These people and their food allergies. I don't have a single food allergy.
No, I don't have any food.
Oh,
allergies.
by the way, I do. It's shrimp.
He has everything, right?
I got
You don't
everything.
sell
Oh,
it.
yeah,
the
you
best,
said that
man.
once.
All shelf food. So I do have an EpiPen. So like,
Really? You keep it with you?
no, not all
How
the
much did
time.
it cost? $8 zillion?
Y'all gonna have to watch me die.
Yeah.
G. Bush keeps his EpiPen by his phone.
You're right.
So in 48 hours, he's able to
So
resuscitate
every
him.
24 hours he looks at it.
My wife does have one.
I
but
feel bad for people that can't eat shellfish. Shellfish
I do
is the
too.
You know,
best.
so I don't
You
eat
don't
any
eat fish,
seafood.
right? Yeah, that's
Zero.
Which is crazy.
Zero.
That's
I
actually
grew up
worse
on
than
Lake
peanut
Erie.
butter.
I mean, perch, salmon, nothing.
Not shellfish?
Nothing.
Lobster?
So have you tried it and it was just like
No.
no?
Missing out on
No.
everything.
It's the smell for me.
I can't smell
It
it. so I'm fine.
smells horrible.
And I will give you this. Like, I don't like creatures like that, man. Like I don't like.
It is kinda
it's
creepy.
Like
No, it's
have you
not.
ever seen River Monsters?
Yeah, I love that show.
Listen, I can't do it.
You don't
like,
eat any fish at all either?
No, I was. Hey, do anybody remember Iowa test?
Iowa
Iowa
test.
test.
Like they, it's like
ayahuasca?
standard. No, there were Iowa tests. In the chat, if you remember Iowa test, please put it one
know
in
what
the
the hell
chat.
that is.
Iowa test was like a standardized test you used to take in school.
Oh, yeah, I do remember the Iowa test.
Yes,
Yes,
and everybody took them, right? And so I remember one time they was
God, I
talking.
haven't heard that mentioned in years, though.
They used to have these.
Was it the presidential fitness test?
No,
I
no,
know,
no, it was a standardized test.
Everybody took it.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
too
there
young
was
for
a
that.
question that said, about the depths of the oceans, right? And it was like the first time I ever heard that, like, the ocean is more undiscovered than the surface of the moon.
Yes.
And so they were like, yeah, as you go deeper, there's creatures that get larger, gigantic
That we've never seen.
Right.
That
Yeah.
never happened. So
Think
I
of how good giant calamari would be.
no, stop it.
Oh, that's
Little
disgusting.
marinara
I
sauce?
went home.
Calamari
lemon?
is inappropriate.
I went home.
Fried calamari has no smell.
I went to no.
so good.
Hold on.
Nasty.
I went to the house and I searched gigantic creatures, and
I hope that came up PG.
Listen, I almost died. I almost passed
Oh,
out.
my God. Jay, you don't know what you're missing. With
I've
some of
had
the
so
shellfish.
many people have told me that, but I've
And
never
you're
tried
such
it.
like
You lived in New York and Jersey
You
for
take
so
it
long.
like you're so health conscious and seafood's
I am.
so
I
good
know.
for
The
you.
one thing that I hate about my diet is that I don't like seafood.
Yeah.
Because it's very
It's
healthy.
great for you,
It's
yeah.
great
count?
for you.
You don't eat tuna either?
You know what's
Nothing, bro. Here's my rule: if
eat
it
tuna?
can live under the water,
Yeah.
I don't eat.
You know what's one of my favorite foods? I don't eat a lot of healthy stuff, but one of my favorite foods is actually one of the healthiest possible things
Can I
you can
guess?
eat. Yes.
You like tuna in a can, don't you?
No, sardines in a can.
Oh.
Sardines are one of the healthiest foods
Are
on
they
the
really?
planet.
Wow.
Because small fish don't have as much mercury and the few negative things
I didn't know
come with
that.
fish.
There
I don't know
is
either.
there is multiple rules in my home
Yeah.
about what my wife can cook because she cooks things
Yeah,
that
a lot of Spanish type of food, Latin type of foods.
They
use
eat
sardines a lot,
fish
yeah.
head soup.
Yeah,
No, they don't.
Yeah, I haven't tried that. That's
no, I
too
won't
fish.
eat that. I won't eat fish
Head
head soup.
soup.
Did they
Well,
keep the eyes
No,
in it?
all
Have
of
you tried
it.
turtle
The
soup?
whole, the mouth,
Chop the
eyes,
head, throw it in.
and
I would
boil it.
try
way,
any
not a
food. I
chance.
would try anything.
I'm not
You
trying
will.
that.
anything.
I told her if that was in it, I'm not
you know
married.
what's
I can't do it.
You know what they have in Jewish delis in New York?
Gefilte
Cow
fish.
tongue.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
They eat
In
that.
New York, I'd
It
see
looks so gross, but it's
It
actually
looks
pretty
disgusting.
good.
It looks exactly what you think
Steve,
it
you
would
ain't
look
nothing for that.
Have you ever had gefilte fish?
Gefilte fish is nasty.
It's nasty.
Nasty. But
But
you have to eat it on Passover and Hanukkah.
gefilte fish is generally gross if you get it from the jar. It's really gross.
I've only had jars.
But there's
What is
one.
it?
You don't
I
want.
don't even. It's not real fish. I
My
don't.
Jewish grandparents used to bring it on Passover.
It's a
and
thing
Hanukkah.
you eat at some Jewish holidays.
Okay.
It's totally gross. Any Jewish person knows
I gotta get
it's
gefilte
gross.
fish story when you're
But
done.
there's one place in New Jersey that kind of makes it not in a jar, and it actually tastes pretty good.
So when we had Hanukkah one year, and we did some competition, and the loser had to eat gefilte fish with a giant thing of horseradish on it.
Oh,
my
yeah,
Jewish
people put horseradish on
it.
gefilte fish.
To hide the bad flavor.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
my cousin lost, but my cousin Cassie, what up Cassie, was like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever.
Yeah.
I did it.
Oh,
I don't
like horseradish.
Yeah, it really messed me up for a few
Affected
days.
the digestive system.
I can eat
and I
gefilte
can
fish,
eat
gross.
anything. I flush it out pretty well. Like my body's a fine-tuned machine, but
Have you guys?
no.
Have you guys had matzo ball soup?
I have tried that.
That's
I
the-
had to
You
try
like
that.
matzo ball soup?
Living in New York, I didn't love it, but I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't have a strong
Was
negative.
it a
reaction
homemade
to it.
one or was it like?
It was from
Katz's Deli.
Carnegie Deli.
yeah,
yeah.
I'm
not
not
eating
eating
that.
matzo ball.
Which,
When
by
you
the way, I
put
think I
matzo
told
ball
you I
soup.
never really got when I went to Carnegie Deli the first time, I'd heard so much about it. I'm like, really? This is it?
I like cats better.
To me, Katz's.
Everybody
Yes.
in New York does say
Don't
that.
take
but-
me home to your grandmother. She will be offended. I'm not eating that, old lady. I'm sorry.
Dude,
Yeah,
you like,
that's
you
the
wouldn't
way
eat
I
matzo
am
ball
too,
soup?
bro.
Do you even know what it is?
No.
There's no fish. It's all.
No, it's
not
not.
fish.
Yeah,
Matzah,
it's no fish.
Matzah's like it's like a corn. puff thing.
It's pretty bland, really.
yeah,
but
it's chicken
not
noodle soup with a
offensive.
matzo ball in it.
No,
no,
it's like a
I'm-
dumpling soup, kind of.
Like, no, I don't
Do you
like
Chinese
regular, I
food?
don't like regular dough. I'm basic, bro.
He's got some weird eating.
G, with
Yeah,
all, with
by
all
the
due
way-
respect, G, and I mean this, you weigh 285, 295, you're 6'5".
Yeah.
How the hell did you get
Good
big?
old-fashioned meat
Chicken,
and potatoes, bro.
meat,
Potatoes.
potatoes,
Yeah.
ribs, steaks, ribeyes, bro.
Fried food.
That's me right there.
I'm not. Listen,
Give me a good filet or
my
ribeye.
doctor,
Live on a ribeye.
my doctor
I
and
love
cardiologist
it.
Fillets
said
are
your
overrated.
red meat
Ribeyes
is
are what's up.
out of control. I will say this: I do bond with people over meals. My meals just be different from yours.
Yeah.
I can't even. It's the thought process. I really don't even eat eggs. Like I'm like
I don't either. I don't eat
I was
eggs.
like,
I don't eat eggs.
Scrambled
I'm not
with
a
cheese.
huge
I'll
egg
eat them
fan.
mixed into
It's
like cake.
But it's like
I don't eat.
That's
I've never had like.
that's an embryo.
I know, that's what I say.
Wow.
I say, bro, that is the
Hey,
equivalent
and-
of. You know what that is? That's an unfertilized egg.
It's an
My
embryo.
son will the only eggs he will eat is on an AM Crunch Wrap from Taco Bell.
That's
That's not,
it.
that's not even eggs.
Yeah, I know.
There are eggs on
That's
there.
Now,
that's like that's eggs.
In Filipino
artificial
culture, there is something called bulat, and what it is a egg that has developed past the stages. Where
All right, now we've got. I don't want to hear
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, I definitely like there might
It
be
has,
like
it has
is there
legs.
beef in there?
God.
It's part chicken.
It
I
is.
love eggs.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
that okay. Now
All right,
that
how you
to
doing
me
in your second show, brother?
is disgusting. Can you imagine a sunny side up egg with a little claw sticking out of it?
Come on
Get
now.
in there, but
I'm
you-
like,
Throw
man,
up here.
This is
Fillets
a
is
dolphin
overrated.
porpoise.
By the way,
Who said fillets are overrated?
Well, and like
I don't like
in
filet.
the grand
Fillets-
scheme of steaks, you
love
take a
filet.
ribeye and a
It's
strip
hard-
steak over filet
I'll
every
take-
day of the week.
yeah, I agree.
A good fillet with the right béarnaise sauce.
No, take the sauce out. You got to take the sauce out.
Yeah,
with
no,
your
no,
ribeye.
I don't
I
want
can't do
sauce.
that.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
I never eat sauce on steak. I like it. It's got to stand up on
And
its
it's
own merits.
yeah. Well,
Now you put good béarnaise sauce on any steak, it's gonna be
Bone
delicious.
in
My
ribeye.
problem with filet,
Yeah, that's-
I like
that-
any
that's the
steak.
winner.
The
That's
problem
the
with
winner.
filet
Bone
is
in.
Yep.
it's more likely to get overcooked than other steaks. I
That's
think.
true.
yeah,
That's
mine's
not
got to
true.
be medium rare,
No,
medium rare
that is
plus.
very
It's the
true.
outside.
I
If it's-
like medium rare plus even rare.
And I need marbled fat all the way through.
That's why
I like a
that's
nice
why ribeyes
prime
the
rib
best.
too. I
love
like
all
prime
love
rib.
it.
Underrated. It
prime
should be
rib.
at more steakhouses.
I
Prime
know.
rib's not
You know
a,
what?
not on the
I've
menu.
decided now that we have to end the show because I'm starving.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all this food
Real
talk
quick,
is
by the way,
killing me.
one football note. How about this? I just forgot about this. You know, remember the Browns got Amari Cooper for like nothing, right?
Free.
Do you remember the trade? How about this? This helps the Steelers. The Steelers traded Chase Claypool
Yep.
for a second-round pick,
Lord.
Which is the 32nd pick because the
32nd
Dolphins
pick
don't
in
have
the
a
draft.
first-round pick this year.
So,
And real quick, do you know how many catches he had for the Bears this
like
year?
15.
4.
You're very close.
I'd say 10.
I said 4.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do
14.
nothing. He was
They
on my
gave up
team.
the 32nd pick in the draft, the Bears. Now, it's not going to matter for them because they're going to trade the first overall pick and get a ton for that. But the Steelers get essentially 2 first-round
They
picks.
came out yesterday and said that they're fine at quarterback.
Yeah.
Just like
I
eggs
mean,
at Taco Bell are real.
yeah, but you know what? Are any of these guys a sure thing? I know there's a lot of, like, there's no Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence
No,
in this
that's
draft.
why they're going to trade it.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
They're absolutely
That's
going
what,
to trade
if there was
it.
a guy that was like that, if Joe Burrow or Lawrence or Luck,
You take
they
him.
would take him and trade.
And you take it
Fields.
too, because not only do you get him for 2 more years under contract.
Right.
Sure.
And,
And
then
you trade
and
Justin
you get a lot from
Fields.
Fields
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
trade.
we got to go home
they
and do
won't do that.
research on this DeAndre Hopkins trade.
We're talking about tomorrow. That is
Yeah.
in the show tomorrow. And I'll tell you,
I
will
think
have
he's
DJ?
not the right fit.
Great. Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll do DeAndre Hopkins tomorrow.
we're going to do
Yeah.
tomorrow a little preview. We got enough time for a preview, Earl?
We got a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, we got about a
Yeah.
minute and a
Tomorrow.
half.
We are going to have DJ Hazmat's video in overtime. There was
That
some
is-
question,
that is
but
confirmed.
he got it in right under the wire.
There we
Okay.
go.
Tomorrow, is Hopkins the right fit or is Brandon Cooks a better option?
It's a great question.
How attractive is the Browns' defensive coordinator job compared to the other defensive coordinator jobs in the league?
That's a
Flores
that's
is
a good
interviewing.
question.
So we talked about Flores and Schwartz today. We're going to talk about Gerard Mayo and Sean Desai.
Okay, very good.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we got Maurice and we got Joe Varden in Talk Little Cavs.
Oh,
Joe's awesome.
That's a full show.
that's a
Big
packed
show tomorrow. Big
That's a full
show
show.
tomorrow.
What we're going to do now is end this show, and we're going to immediately begin taping our overtime segment, which is the world premiere of DJ Hazmat's last week of the regular season recap video, Steelers, Browns. If you got time to join up,
Join
hit the
it.
join button, $4.99 a month. You'll get to see this exclusive video. That's in our overtime content. In the meantime, we're back tomorrow with, as McNugget said, a very full show. Earl, terrific job in the
Great job.
pilot seat.
Great job,
Well
buddy.
done. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you guys tomorrow.